Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. We are at the CPU Western Canadian Powerlifting Championships 2024. I'm Mark Magnuson. I'm here with Jeff Butt, who is our CPU president. Just to let you know, we have two platforms. On platform one, we will have the junior women in the classic category from the 69 kilo weight class to the 84 plus kilo weight class. And on platform two, we will have the junior men, the 83 kilo, the 120 kilo, and the 120 plus kilo. I'm going to give Jeff a second to introduce himself, and then we'll get started.
Hi, everybody. Jeff Butt. Just recently elected to be president for the CPU. I've been lifting for over 30 years and looking forward to doing this with Mark today.
Thanks, Jeff. We're just listening to Gino. We're just about to start. We have our first lifters on the platform. On platform one, we have Taylor Armstrong, a 69 kilo lifter. On platform two, Carson Parego. Quick start for both lifters.
Looks like both are good lifts.
Those are good lifts. Jeff, we talk about junior lifters in Canada, and now that you're the CPU president, the sport is growing. What have you seen in terms of growth in the sport, and obviously especially as it relates to the juniors?
Yeah, just the quality of lifting has gone up so much. The junior totals now are totals that were winning worlds back 8-10 years ago, and there's a bunch of them. As we saw in the last group, it looked like we had 12 or 14 people in the junior 93s. Just a huge weight class.
Thank you. So when we talk about the juniors, we have Erica on platform one and Zachary on platform two. The juniors, as you pointed out, 10 years ago, these numbers were winning worlds. Is that due to coaching? Is it due to nutrition? Is it due to a number of different things?
I think it's the growth of the sport, and certainly there's a lot more coaching and gyms that are more powerlifting friendly than what it would have been. I think also too, it's the Instagram and Facebook have made the sport a little more popular as well, and there's a few characters out there that people follow, and of course that helps grow the sport as well.
Now, there's definitely some interesting people on social media doing powerlifting now. It certainly attracts the numbers. The young people in particular like to watch that kind of stuff. As we watch Zachary squat, looks like a good attempt.
Looks good. Lots of depth and 3 weight weights.
And we have Anuel coming up on platform two, while we have Sophie coming up on platform one. We have different weight classes. As I mentioned, we have the 4 weight classes for the women and the 3 weight classes for the men. Just help us understand the different weight classes and why we have weight classes in weightlifting.
The weight classes separate. I mean, obviously, people that are a little bigger generally are a little stronger, and so we have the weight classes to make that fair. And we also have the different age divisions now with the sub-junior and juniors. And you get into master groups, and we have master 1, 2, 3, 4, and open then is any age group, but certainly that's where everyone is feeding into that, and the masters are the ones maybe on the downside of their career, but still holding on for something.
And then it really does make it a sport for everybody.
Absolutely. I'm not sure what the oldest competitor would be here over the week, but there's certainly people in the country that are in their 80s and still lifting.
Thanks. All right, we have Anuel. We'll watch him squat. His first attempt at 190 kilos. Definitely looks pretty smooth up and down. And on platform one, we have Shakina Grace, 115 kilos for her first attempt. Let's talk a little bit about the equipment as we're watching these lifters. For those individuals that are listening to us that don't know a lot about powerlifting, what is some of the equipment in classic lifting?
Yeah, so we have a singlet. As you see, that's basically the suit that everybody is wearing, and it's a non-supportive suit in today's group. We do have equipment that is more supportive as well. The belt has gone through incarnation certainly over the last number of years. Top quality as the one as Mathis is wearing here, SBD belt. And you got the knee sleeves. Most people here will be wearing some form of a squat shoe and wrist straps.
And so all of those things are to benefit the lifter in terms of how much they can lift, in terms of stabilizing them as they're going up and down on the squats. little bit of information maybe about the shoes, because I know some lifters like flat shoes versus some lifters that like a heel, and there's a limit to the heel you can have.
Yeah, and that's certainly a personal preference, and I would say in my powerlifting career I've probably tried them all, and you'll see most people now they're going with a flat shoe. In the past, I think more people are with the heel shoe and a squat shoe or a weightlifting shoe, and certainly it's what people feel more comfortable with stabilization.
We have a number of successful first attempts as we're going through the first rounds here. We have Jasper up on platform 2, and we are loading the bar on platform 1. One of the things I think about when I lift now that I've started powerlifting is just the mindset of making sure everything's right, making sure my attempts are right as I'm getting ready in the background. What's the psychology of coming out for that first attempt?
The first attempt is to get it in. You put you on the board. It takes a lot of stress off. I would say especially in the squat. The squat is probably the one that the lifters fear the most, I guess. And once they get that first one, usually it's smooth sailing after that, as long as they get it. If you don't get it, you start to panic a little bit.
And that first attempt, and we'll talk about this in just a minute as we watch Christina lift, her first attempt at 120 kilos. We'll get back to that in just a second. Nice and deep.
Yeah, there's not much wrong with that lift.
That's a good lift, yeah. So when we get back to that, so when you talk about that first attempt, the psychology of that successful first attempt, because we can have 3 attempts in both bench, deadlift, and squat, and you can miss a number of attempts and still have a successful meet.
Yes, but you do need to make an attempt in every lift to continue on or to have your total count. So you can set a world record in squat and bench, but if you don't make a deadlift, that's what we call bombing out, and your total is 0. And you don't get the records either, so it's a little bit of a double whammy on that one.
So you could technically have 3 good lifts and have a good meet as long as it was 1 of each.
Exactly.
Wow. All right, so for those that don't really follow powerlifting, you can have a very successful meet with 3 or more lifts. You can have a very unsuccessful meet with 6 lifts, because if you miss 3 in your deadlift or your squat or your bench press, you, as you point out, are bombing out or you're out of the meet.
Yes, exactly.
All right, we're waiting for Francesca to set up on platform 2. We have Max opening up with a big number, 275 kilos.
Yes, I've seen Max lift before. He's a pretty solid lifter. One thing when you mention, the difference in today's lifting as well, we will see a number of people that really do stick to that, trying to make as many lifts as possible. I'm a true believer in an 8 for 9, 9 for 9 day. Will get you the best result in the long term, and generally speaking, going to get you a better total for the day than if you go 5 for 9 or 6 for 9.
We'll watch Max lift here, and then I'm going to ask you a question about that in just a moment. Nice and deep.
Very nice opener.
It's a good first lift for Max. So when you say that and you talk about being successful, whether it's 8 for 9 or 9 for 9, I know there's some research that's been done recently, and I think it was Matt Gary that did the research, and we can talk about that person later, someone who's well known in powerlifting circles. But he's done some research that basically says the most successful lifters are 7 for 9 or better.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, I have a motto when I'm coaching lifters. If I go 7 for 9, I'm not happy. I try to keep that average up in the 85% lifts made, which usually it's somewhere between 7 and 8 lifts, every meet, or between 8 and 9 in that range. You're doing okay. I would say, success rates, if you're hitting 33% when 130 lifters hits 9 for 9 day, you're doing a good job coaching.
And so the coaches are there obviously for a number of different reasons, and we'll go into that later as well, but one of the reasons is to help the lifters with selection in terms of weights. Exactly.
Most of these lifters here, they're coming out for their openers probably between 90-93% of their max is where they're looking, and every meet, I'd say almost everyone here is looking to hit a new PB for themselves. And so that's the goal. Maybe 92% to start, 97 on your second, and then 102% or something in that range on your third.
So when we talk about that 93% on a first lift and possibly 98 to 102 on the third lift, one of the things that we think about in terms of powerlifting is it's an individual sport, but at the same time it's very much a community. So as an individual, you always want to better your last lift in the last meet or in the gym, but as a community, as a group, it's a very supportive sport.
Yes, and I mean that's really the goal. You're getting better every time you come out, and you know you might not be there. Let's say you're finishing 6th or 7th in this meet. Your goal next year might be to finish in the top 5, and you know, start to work up your ranks in that way.
All right, so we are on platform 1. We just have a slight technical difficulty. We'll get back to it in just a second on that. One of the things I think about when I'm lifting, obviously, is that first lift you're successful, and then it's in terms of psychology, in terms of what's my second, what's my third, but particularly when it comes to deadlift, because when you watch high-level elite meets, a lot of lifters go for it on that third deadlift. And why is that? What are we talking about in terms of strategy and competition?
Well, one thing with the deadlift is that if you pull last, you always got an opportunity to pull for the win, whatever that needs to be. And if you're not, let's say, the biggest deadlifter in a group, you need to make sure you make your third, especially if you're in a tight competition, because you need to force that other athlete to make their last pull.
We are back. We have Nicola on platform 1 and we have Zachary on platform 2. We're still on first attempts for all of our lifters. Nicola is a 69 kilo lifter and Zachary is a 120 plus lifter.
Platform 2.
Let's watch.
617 pounds.
So as Nicola does that lift, and I believe, yes, it's successful.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about depth and some of the rules in squat. One of the things I know is a challenge for a lot of lifters is hitting that depth. So explain depth to us and why it's so important.
Yeah, so proper depth in powerlifting, and this is probably what people get called on the most. Your hip joint should be lower than your knee in the bottom of your squat. So it's not, you know, if you're going into the gym, you'll see some people in there. You might see somebody squatting some weight, and they might be 3 or 4 inches higher than that. And that would make a massive difference in how much weight you can squat.
So when we talk about that, as we watch Carla and as we watch Zachary, hitting depth, obviously the deeper you go, it's going to be more challenging to come up out of the squat. It's one of the reasons why powerlifting is such a challenging sport, because as you pointed out, there are people in the gym that are squatting. Some of them are squatting at large amounts of weight, but they're rarely going below parallel, which is where your knee is parallel with your hip joint. And so when we do that, and one of the things that I see lifters do is that they will drop deep and quick into the squat and bounce out. So explain that effect.
Well, what they're trying to do is it's a stretch reflex, and they're trying to get that bounce out of the bottom. And some people do well with that, and especially more explosive athletes, I would say. And some lifters are a little more controlled. And again, that's going to be a personal preference for a different athlete.
Great. All right, we're waiting for Taylor on platform 1 and Dylan on platform 2. Dylan is about to squat. Again, a big opener, 290 kilos. We'll watch Dylan here. He is a 120 plus from Quebec. We have some lifters that have come from outside of Western Canada for this meet. One of the reasons we have is because the regional meets, the Centrals, the Easterns, and the Westerns this year have now become qualifiers for Canadian national teams. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the CPU decided a few years back we were going to try to move our nationals around, and so our nationals will be in September this year, and so we had to find a different means of picking some of the teams, because there's a little bit of a conflict, I guess, with world teams and a September date for nationals. So all the regionals this year will be important, plus some of the regionals we've done earlier around September month of last year. And then people who have attended Worlds or other international events, their totals there may actually count for moving forward to international teams this year.
All right, again, successful lifts. We had an unsuccessful lift on 1, a successful lift by Taylor on 2. We are on our second attempts. Carson and Sophie are up. When we talk about those regional events and the national championship, obviously, and then how it applies to the national team and applying to world events, you mentioned the calendar. Obviously, we have to try and be in sync with the national team selections so that we have teams going to Worlds at the various times of the year. I know that this year, obviously, the regionals were being used as a qualifier, and it certainly has impacted the number of people we have. This is probably the biggest regional competition in CPU history.
Yes, it is. As far as I can remember, and I've been around for 30 years, so and certainly the quality of lifting here is phenomenal. This is big as almost as big as most nationals. So and there's still an Easterns yet to go.
Yeah, the 3 regionals, again, for those that aren't familiar, we have Western Canadian regionals, we have Central Canada, and then we have the Eastern Canadian regionals, which are coming up in another 2 weeks, I believe.
Yes.
Right after these, and then national team selections will be finalized, correct?
Finalized, yes.
Okay.
Yes. There will be, especially in the bench press, because the World Bench Press is in the United States this year in Texas, and people will literally have to lift and submit their name that night that they're willing to go to that event. That's how tight the time frame is for that world event.
Yeah, the IPF World Bench Press Championships, for those that don't know, are on May, last week in May into the first couple of days of June. It's a very tight timeline. It's a 10-week timeline. And with world events, as you can imagine, the amount of organizing and things that have to go on, they need those names from each country as quickly as possible.
Yes, of course. So we put in a nomination process, and then the IPF will list everybody, and then people can make some decisions on weight class changes and different things of that nature. And it changes a little bit. I would say more or less it's about 80% once you get that first nomination in, but then there's a secondary nomination in which you can make changes, and so that becomes important as well.
So people will submit their names, they'll submit their best lifts. There's a chance at regionals to possibly submit a better total or a better lift, whether in this case bench press, and then those selections are made by the Canadian Powerlifting Union, by a selection committee?
Yes. And what happens to at the world level, that could become important because, let's say you're submitting a 165 kilo bench and you bench something around 185 here. Well, that could move you up in positions in a world championships where you have more than 14 people in a flight. They'll split up the flights, and that could actually put you lifting with the first group, which would be the more competitive group, and so that becomes important as well.
That's something I did not know, so that's interesting to note. When we talk about, obviously, as regionals are qualifiers for national teams and world championships, we have a number of people at this meet that are trying to qualify for national teams, but we also have people that are trying for provincial records, we're trying for national records, who are trying for personal bests. And I know that yesterday, when we were doing our session 2, we had a number of Canadian national records on platform 1. So there's different lifters with different goals and different opportunities. And of course, you have provincial pride too. Provinces want to do well; they want their lifters to do well.
Yeah, and one thing too, even though people are here looking for possibly world teams, there's also international events that are close enough together you might not be able to lift in both. So North Americans could be an example that happens in the summer, and then we have Commonwealths this year, which is every second year we have Commonwealths, which is happening just before Master Worlds in the same place. So we might have someone that would traditionally go to Commonwealths and lift that may not necessarily go there because they're going to go to South Africa to lift in the Master Worlds, or you might have someone that wants to do both and go in and maybe do token lifts, or maybe do enough to win, or make it into a last training session and then lift at the Worlds a week later.
And just for information for the audience, and I'll go through the list, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but we have the Bench Press Worlds in May. We have the North American Powerlifting Championships in August.
Classic Worlds in June.
Yeah. Classic Worlds in June, excuse me. We have the NAPF North Americans in August in Scottsdale. Then we have 3 events around October. We have the World Masters in South Africa. We have the Commonwealths in South Africa. And we have the North American Bench Press at the end of October in Costa Rica. And then there are Equipped Worlds, and those are
in November, usually late November. And we also have Junior Worlds at the end of the summer as well.
Junior Worlds at the end of the summer, and then the Equipped Worlds are in Iceland this year.
Yes.
So there are a number of different events that people can be competing for and trying to make a Canadian national team. And then, of course, with people that are trying for Canadian records, provincial records, and personal bests. And because we have such a large regional championship this year, we do have lifters that are possibly in their second or third meets, and we have people, yourself and others included, who are here and have come back and are now, because they're qualifying or trying to qualify for national teams, been lifting for 25, 30 years.
Absolutely. And we'll certainly see some of that, I think, as we get into some of the master lifting.
All right, we have Jennifer on platform 1. We had Jasper on platform 2. He was successful with a lift of 250. Platform 1 is Jennifer. She is attempting 127.5 kilos in the 69 kilo category. As we get into second and third squats, we'll start telling you a little bit more about where the placings are for these individuals. and what they need for an attempt in order to move forward. Jennifer grinds that one out, was nice and deep. It appears to be successful. Yes, it was. Let's put, I'll say something real quickly here about our spotters and our loaders and our volunteers. I know you've been spotting and loading yesterday and today, and we have a number of people here. It really is impressive, in my opinion, that we have people who are the CPU president. We have people who are world champions like Brittany. We have world champions like Rhea and Ryan, who are literally on the ground doing all of the work and the volunteering and the spotting and the loading and the different things that all of the rest of the volunteers do. And I'm not so sure I see that in other sports.
No, I mean, it's a pretty tight-knit group in powerlifting, and you know, people that are here and they're volunteering, they're doing it for the sport, and they want the sport to grow, and they want to be able to run competitions like this that are world class, and that's what you get. And yeah, I mean, volunteer pool for here got to be in the 400 or 500s, I would think. And it's just amazing that people kick in, and you know, sometimes they'll lift. Some people even volunteer before they lift, and you know, I commend them for it. It's what makes the sport grow, and what keeps it healthy.
I've had a number of junior people come up to me and just they're kind of starstruck a little bit. They see Rhea, they see Brittany, they see some of these big lifters. I saw Bryce Krawczyk this morning, and that's a great thing. They need to see those individuals at these meets.
Exactly, and you know, there'll be people that'll come here just to watch some of those athletes lift, and you know, that's the impression that the people get, and they find that a lot of times these people are really down to earth.
Yeah, they're very down to earth. I spoke with Brittany yesterday. I said hello to her. Just one of the nicest people you're ever going to meet, and that's true of almost everybody I've met. I can't think of an example where I wasn't impressed and did not come away impressed with meeting these folks. And again, they're very down to earth. All of the lifters that are here, whether you're a first-time lifter, whether you've been lifting for a number of different years, it's a very tight-knit community. Everybody's very supportive. Yes, we all want to do well. You know, in some cases, people are trying to make teams or trying to make national records, but people want to see everybody do their best on the platform.
That's another thing that I find with the powerlifting community is you know, we all spend the hours in the gym, and we know that the toil of that and what it takes and the sacrifices that people make. And you know, you can appreciate the fact that someone went out and pulled a big deadlift.
All right, we have platform 2. We have Carson with a big second squat of 290 kilos. He is in the 120-plus class. And on platform 1, we have Ein, who is in the 69-kilo class with her second squat at 165 kilos. We'll watch Carson here. Again, nice and deep.
Yeah, really nice squat.
Real nice, smooth up and down, no hesitation, and 3 white lights for Carson. As we're watching Ein lift, again, nice and deep.
Yeah, very deep squats.
Yeah, that's great to see. Doesn't leave anything to, you know, question in terms of the depth. They're nice and deep. The hips are below their knees. Let's talk a little bit as we're watching squats. There are obviously different rules for bench and deadlift and squats, and different issues in terms of depth for squat is a big one. What could be another issue for squat that might be red flagged or be given a penalty in terms of the things that they can not do in squats?
Yeah, some of the other ones is certainly not standing erect at the beginning and at the end of the lift. So lifters get really bent over, they might not get a start command, and they may actually straighten it up and get a command, and then when they come up, they end up in the same spot they begin in, and they might not get a white light. Also, too, moving your feet, losing your balance. But I mean, squat, it's the depth is the one that certainly is called. I would say 90% of the failures, other than not making the lift, is from depth.
And one of the things that I know some individuals had problems with yesterday was an up and down or a bobble.
Yeah, and you'll see it a little bit in classic, but in equip you'll see it a little more. And the thing is, when you got the equipment on, the equipment will get you out of the hole kind of thing, but then your muscles got to take over, and you got to pick up where the suit left off. And that's where you'll see some of that, and the bench press in equipped is very much a main suspect in that, but you will see it in squats, and you will see some up and down in squats, but it's not that common in in the classic.
Okay, so again, more in the equipped area. On the equipped side, we'll see some bobbles because people talk about equipped lifting and they think, well, you're stronger because you have equipment and it makes you lift more. But there's a very technical side to equipped lifting.
Oh, very much, and I would say, and I do both, and equipment is much more technical, and sometimes you got to do things that are not necessarily feeling natural to you. Because that's where the equipment works the best, is where in not a natural position. And I equipped in a deadlift suit. I can't certainly sit into the bar like I can in classic, but that's how the suit works for me. And same thing with squats. You got knee wraps and a suit that's kind of stopping you from getting down to the bottom, and you got to force yourself down there. So yeah, it becomes definitely a much more technical lift.
All right, as we watch Dylan coming up for his second attempt at 305 kilos, 672 pounds. And we have Taylor on platform 1, her third squat. So we're already on our third squats with our female lifters on platform 1. But we have a big second attempt for Dylan. And again, this is in the 120 plus category. Dylan is from Quebec. And so what we saw this year, because of the regionals becoming qualifiers for national teams, a number of lifters have lifted in a region other than their own in order to, because it might fit their schedule, it might fit where their training is.
Yeah, and sometimes it might be where the competition is. So that's something, yes, that has happened this year. And it is one of those things. Some people might say strategically, well, if I wait till Easterns in a couple of weeks, I get to know what everybody else does. So that's something too, that we may have a few people that pulled out a surprise in the last couple of weeks. So I mean, there's definitely a number of things, but I know at the Easterns we have a representative from every province in the country there. I'm not sure if we had a Newfoundlander, let's say, that's in this competition. However, I know a couple of people lifted there normally, or are from Newfoundland or away going to school or whatever the case might be. So I think we've had someone from all the provinces here too as well.
And actually, it's kind of a unique thing this year for that to happen, but it's also kind of a good thing. I think it helps for lifters from other provinces to be able to go to a regional and see what goes on at Westerns or see what goes on at Centrals or Easterns. It's an opportunity. It's certainly a different, probably a slightly different approach in each part of the country, and yet at the same time with all the goals being ultimately the same.
Yes, and these events are all run at a world-class level. So this is a step up for some people. They've never been at an event where there's two platforms, and the quality of lifters is where it's at. So you get to learn a lot by being around lifters too. I always say I learn more sitting down having a drink or something after a powerlifting meet than you learn in the meet itself.
Yeah, I have to say I really enjoy being able to pick people's brains when I'm at powerlifting meets and really have that back and forth, and I learn so much from everybody, and it's learning from everyone, not just older lifters, but I learn a lot from younger lifters. I learn a lot. My training partner in equipped bench is a national bench press champ. She is a great lifter, and I learn more from her than I do from anyone. So I mean, everybody has different levels of ability and skills, and in terms of what they can offer to somebody else, I know a lot of lifters are also coaches. Let's talk a little bit about that. So, and I know you have coached people in the past, both at the national and at the regional and local level. That's just another way of giving back, but I also think it speaks to the individuals in terms of how much they love the sport.
Yeah, and I think people are now taking the educational component. They're going to university and they want to learn so they could specifically be powerlifting coaches. And there's a lot of people out there making a pretty good living at it. But I mean, you never stop learning at this. I tried things years ago that you see people all of a sudden 10 years later it's become a thing. And then things you did they're obsolete now, and especially nutrition and diet and things like that now as well. I mean, the kids are way further ahead than what we ever were, and what books were out there when I started lifting were few and far between, and probably not very good information when I look back at it now. But now you've got the education is out there everywhere.
And I think the point you made earlier, that social media has really helped in terms of young lifters, in terms of coaching, but also in terms of finding coaches, finding good information. Coaches can make more money now because the coaching can often be online, and I know my coach is an online coach, I know a number of lifters they have online coaches, and it really allows the sport to grow, because needing a coach on site all the time can be very difficult.
Yeah, and I get calls, fairly regularly. Someone asking, can you handle me, if I come over to that meet and things like that. But that's the thing now. People are making that even a business in itself, just the meat handling. So it has changed a lot. And back in the day, you had your 3 or 4 buddies you went to the gym with, and those were the guys that you called your coaches. And now you actually have what we call a bona fide coach, I guess.
All right, let's watch our third attempts on platform 1. We have our third attempts on platform 2 as well. We have Anwar with his third attempt at 202. Not quite, got stuck on the way back up in the middle. 3 red lights for him. And we have Christina grinding it out on platform 1.
Definitely a good fight there.
And a successful third lift. So as we finish up our third squats, we will be entering into the next flight in just at the end of these third squats for our lifters. Let's talk a little bit about the structure of the meet in terms of flights and days and those kinds of things. Help someone who's not familiar with powerlifting how a meet might run in terms of that structure.
Generally speaking, if you're running an event, ideally you have 2 flights of lifters, and there can't be more than 14 in a flight. So you'll see that in this particular case today. Usually what one group will do, they'll start their warm up and they'll get ready to come out and lift. And as they come out and lift, the second group starts their warm up. When the first group has done their squats, then that group comes out, and so on through the lifting. So there's a 10-minute break between squats and bench and deadlift. However, that's just people getting an opportunity to do their last warm-up in there, and if they need to make changes or lower their openers, that's what they're doing on that last lift in that 10-minute break. And then our next group gets ready and flows in, and keeps the meet running with just a small break in between to change the equipment.
So typically a rest for a lifter, if I'm in the first flight and I'm squatting, and then the second flight of squatters of 14 are squatting, I'm backstage getting ready for my bench press.
Exactly, yeah, and if you look at a flight of, let's say, 12, you're looking at a half an hour or so. So that's the time frame you've got to get ready. Some people like to take it easy and just get a couple of warm-ups in for bench. Some people like to take 6 or 7 or 8 bench warm-ups. I usually take in the range of 5 or 6, but in a deadlift I take 3, and I feel I'm already warmed up and I want to save my energy.
And so when we talk about that, we talk about the warm-ups in the back and how people are then moving on to squat and then they're warming up. So you mentioned some individuals would like 5 or 6 warm-ups. Some people might be as good as 3, but the flights themselves, it can be a max of 14. But how small can the flights be?
Generally speaking, we try to keep it over 6, and if you don't have 6, there needs to be compensatory time that a lot of people don't really like to do. So they'll probably move, let's say, you might have a group where you have a master lifter and there's only a couple of lifters in that one. They might move those with that group and make it a flight of 8. Generally speaking, for myself personally, I like lifting anything between 8 and 12. I don't like a 14 flight. I think it's too long, especially in classic. As the lifting is going on, I actually find in the bench and deadlift, if it's 7 or 8, I'm fine with that. But in the squat, I need that extra time. So it's a personal preference for people.
And personal preference in terms of how much time it takes to warm up. Once your body's warmed up and you're into your bench press, into your deadlift, less time is maybe a good thing, because you can get cold waiting around too.
You certainly can, and I'll have times when you could have anything happens where just a referee's decision ends up being disputed, and they sit, and like the last group where we're sitting for about 7 or 8 minutes. Well, if you were getting ready to do your last warm up, now that's going to get delayed, so you might have to do something in between, get an extra little. It might be a lighter warm up, but just to keep moving.
Great. So we're going to do a shout out right now to our loaders and our spotters and our volunteers, and thank all of them for the amazing work that they do. It's a 4-day meet with over 400 lifters. There was a lot of work, and as Jeff mentioned, we think we have close to between 400 and 500 volunteers. We also want to do a shout out to our sponsors, SBD, Inner Strength Products, where we have the shop next door where you can shop during the meet for all of your powerlifting needs. And of course, we also have Olympia, and we have Visit Moose Jaw. And in a city the size of Moose Jaw, for the city tourism office or convention bureau office to get on board is really a big thing.
Yeah, it's very important that, an event like this, and I've run events this size, and the economic impact is probably over $1 million. And I'd venture say the impact for Moose Jaw, just this event alone, is probably $1.5 million. So, it's good for those community groups to support the sport, and also it helps bring things back here again in the future.
Yeah, it's definitely an event that there's been a lot of buzz. When I'm at the hotels, I hear about it. People that work at the hotel knew about it. People at the restaurant know about it. So that's great for the community, especially a community as small as Moose Jaw. Big shout out to our SBD sponsor. SBD is our main sponsor, presented by SBD, the 2024 CPU Western Canadian Powerlifting Championships. SBD has been a major sponsor of powerlifting over the last number of years, and it really helped grow the sport by putting on high-profile events, and yet at the same time they're here at grassroots events as well.
Yeah, for sure. SBD is a major player, and I also give them credit for changing the sport as well. And now seeing events that where there's big money prizes. You're also seeing athletes that are sponsored that have an opportunity to earn a little bit of a living through the sport, and it just goes hand in hand. That support will also help people get involved with the sport, because now it's not going to be as expensive to get involved.
Yeah, having a sponsor like SBD sponsor the events, all of our loaders and spotters on our platforms are wearing SBD apparel, which is all provided free of charge. That's great. There's probably 300 or 400 T-shirts that they just bring to the event. They're providing a number of other things, and they're also then, as you pointed out, they sponsor athletes. And for those elite lifters that are having to travel to international events on numerous occasions,
yes,
that can get very expensive.
Oh yes, I mean, I would think most athletes, like some of the top tier athletes in Canada, are probably lifting 5 or 6 times a year, and 3 or 4 of those events might be international in nature, and to fly out of Canada. Canada's a big country in itself. It's not cheap. We're always looking at flights for different worlds and international events be $1,500 to $2,000 just for the flight alone. Then you got your hotels, and generally when you get there, because it's a bigger event, you got a higher hotel price, and any of these international events, you're probably in for $4,000 or $5,000, and that's not really counting your reading and the extra stuff that you need to do.
All right, we'll get back to platform 1 and 2 here. On platform 1, we have Nicola with a 172.5 kilo squat. And on platform 2, we have Max attempting for his final squat, 305 kilos. Nicola grinds that one out. Looks like it's a good attempt, and it is.
Wet lights.
And we'll wait for Max here. And this will put him currently in 2nd place, I believe.
Yes. Oh, very easy.
Nice and smooth.
Yeah. It's a good attempt. Something I'm betting he felt pretty comfortable with.
So we have 3rd attempts on both platforms coming up. We have a few left before we go to the next flight. We are near the end of this first flight. We have Dylan on platform 2. We have Ein on platform 1. Let's talk a little bit about, and I know in Canada it's not really so much of an issue, but for those individuals that aren't familiar with the weights in terms of kilos versus pounds, in terms of the plates, we do everything in kilos.
Yes.
And we do everything in terms of colored plates as well.
Yes. So the kilo plates, as you see a red plate there, if you see 3 red plates loaded in a powerlifting meet, it's 385 pounds, where if that's in the gym, it's 315 if you have 3 big plates loaded. The blue plates are the equivalent to a gym plate in general terms, within a pound of each other. So, if you see 4 reds on there, you're just short of 500 pounds. And if you see 5 reds, you're just over 600 pounds. So that's what you're looking at there. It's done because it's an international sport, then they have to have, I guess, the majority of countries that would use that particular rate system. And of course, in Europe and most other places, everything is in kilos. The Americans, when we go to meets, even in the U.S., you find that they will still talk a lot in pounds, but they use kilo plates in the competitions as well.
And the reason we have reds, blues, yellows, and greens is, one, we're all in kilo plates, but two, it helps spotters and loaders.
Yes, and it actually helps referees know that the weight's loaded correctly. So that's also a thing. And I think the color codes that are on the weights is indicative of the Olympic colors. So I think that's why they are the way they are. And but yes, the spotters and loaders. When you mentioned I was spotting earlier, we just call out the color. We don't call out the how much weight is on it. It's just 4 reds and a green.
So Olympic colors, which I did not know that before. That's new to me. So the Olympic colors being the red, blue, the yellow, green, and then the black. And the white.
Yeah.
And so we often see silver plates, the tiny plates, and those plates are used for chipping, but also used for setting records.
Yeah, if you see anything that's not an increment of 2.5 kilos, that means that the athlete is putting on it would be a national record at this point here, or a world record. So if you see the silver plates coming out, and they're a little bit of a delay, so they only have those plates at the referee's table or the jury table, and so they're specific for records only.
All right, so when we are attempting records, when we are attempting to chip a record, we call it, then those plates are sitting at the jury table. The jury has to make sure that's the correct plate to give to the loader.
Exactly, yeah. And it's because people are not used to dealing in that less than 2.5 increment. They're very small portions. They're 0.25 and 0.5. So, close to half a pound to pound.
And we're talking literally a pound can be a world record, an extra pound.
Exactly.
All right. We are into our second flight on platform 1 and 2. Alexander on platform 2 with a successful squat of 190 kilos. And we have Eleanor on platform 1 with her opener at 120 kilos. And that is in the female 76 kilo class.
Very nice looking squat.
We have, I'm always impressed. I was impressed yesterday, I'm impressed today. At least for me, it feels like a high percentage of successful lifts at this meet. We don't have very many people missing lifts.
Yeah, and that's something that I've noticed, certainly a big difference in the last number of years. You don't have people out doing what we call the glory lift. It's people are staying within their means, and I do think that's indicative of having coaches, because I've seen athletes talk about what they were going to lift in events, and they were nowhere near that when the time came. But now it seems like it's very much controlled, and also too, you need to make your lifts because especially if you're in a close battle, missing a 2.5 in your bench could be the difference of winning and losing.
Yeah, missing your last squat or your last bench or your last deadlift, those increments add up, and at the end of the meet, your total can be significantly lower.
Exactly. I mean, you look at if you miss a 5 kilos on your squat and your deadlift and a 2.5, you're talking about 12.5 kilos, 25 pounds you lose by. And those are all lifts that are within, 10 or 11 pounds of what you just previously did.
Right.
So it makes a difference.
I don't think people realize that when we're talking about these competitions and when we have a number of lifters in a particular flight, and I'll choose the 76 female junior flight, for example. If you have 10 lifters, the winning total might only be 5 or 7.5 kilos over the second place and third place finishers.
Oh, absolutely. I've been in competitions where there's been 3-weight high, and it's the lighter lifter wins in those particular cases.
So body weight is the determining factor.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. All right, we are watching Tung Xuan and Liat on platform 1 and 2. They're lifting their openers at 125 kilos and 210 kilos. And Liat with a very nice low, deep lift and three white lights.
Mark, I can give you another little nuance. At international events where they have individual lifts, they usually have medals for the individual lifts, which they don't have at our national and less here in Canada. But I tied an athlete one time in the squat. He and I weighed exactly the same, and because he did it first, he got the medal.
And that's the second tiebreaker.
And that's the second tiebreaker.
Whoever gets it first.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it seems kind of arbitrary, but they have to have a way to have a tiebreaker.
Have a way to, yeah, there was a time they used to give 2 medals, but they don't do that any longer. It's the person who does it first now. And I mean, rarely, you think that 2 people weigh exactly the same. We're talking within in hundreds of grams.
Wow.
And then you squat exactly the same too as well. And there was a time back, probably around when I was first lifting, they used to do a reweigh at the end of the competition. You reweighed, and then it was the lightest person who would get the record.
So whoever sweated the most over the 4 hours.
Exactly, or didn't eat very much.
Oh wow. Well, I think I'd rather just go with that second tiebreaker. And you went first, you can have it.
Yeah.
Oh man. So you mentioned that, and it's something that I learned recently is that you can win individual medals at international events. So even though your total might not get you on the podium, your deadlift could get you a first, second, or third.
Absolutely, and sometimes that could be a factor in when somebody is going. You look at you have a couple of people, and you're going to medal or might get a gold medal in the deadlift, and we go and we're coaching at international events. We will look at that specifically and look at, okay, how can we get that person from let's say a 5th place into a bronze medal position, and if it's within reason, then we'll have an athlete try that. And we go to the athlete and say, hey, here's the situation. We put in 5 kilos more. If you go 7.5, that could be a medal, a bronze medal, and people say yay or nay to that, and usually it's yay, of course. And people sometimes like to come away with something.
So I was going to ask you that. So you go to a world championship, and let's say your squat is, it's not your best lift. Everybody has what they call their best lift, their second best lift, their third best lift. The exceptional lifters often at world level have all 3 lifts are good, but even at that level you can have a best lift and one that's maybe slightly not up to where you'd like it to be. So the person squats, and let's say their squat is not best, and they're certainly not a podium squatter, but they might be a podium bench presser or a deadlift, then you're talking to that person as a national coach about, hey, you have an opportunity here to get a medal. And now we know you're not going to get a medal as a total, but you have a real opportunity to get a bronze in the squat, or not squat, in the bench or the deadlift. Do you want to try and put that extra 5 kilos on?
Yeah, and that sometimes it might be, and let's say it is the squat that they have a weakness in. It might say, let's not go all out in the squat. Let's cut that back a few kilos and make sure we get it, and make sure you don't tweak anything, and then we'll save it for the deadlift.
Excellent. All right. We'll go back to the platforms here. We are in our first squats on our second flight for Ariana on platform 1 and for Danny on platform 2. Danny is looking at 215 kilos here in the 83 junior category. Junior category.
Platform 1.
And they are loading platform 1, getting it set up. Meanwhile, on platform 2, Danny is about to attempt his first squat. And as Danny does this, and nice and deep.
Yes, very deep.
Very deep. I'm going to ask the question again, because for people that maybe are not familiar, when you look at him squatting, you notice different lifters have the bar at different places on their back. Can you talk a little bit about that, about where the bar placement is when you squat?
Yeah, conventional theory says the lower the bar is, that you change the leverages and makes the potential to lift a little more. But we will see some people that are exceptional high bar squatters, let's say, for example. But sometimes a lot of that depends on their flexibility as well. So they have the flexibility to get their arms back. And the rule used to be you couldn't have a certain level below your deltoid. But now it's the forward lean. So they'll judge, and sometimes with the lower bar placement, it will pitch you forward or lean forward, and a referee can decide not to give you the start command if you're leaning too much forward.
All right, we have Deontay on platform 1 with a big opener, 170 kilos. And she's in the 84-plus junior class. With
easy.
A successful lift, that looked pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big opener for her. And she's got a lot more in the tank. platform 2, we're looking at Claude will be up next with a 245 kilo on platform 2, 245 attempt. When you mention those different placements on the back, whether it's a low bar or a high bar, as you pointed out, I think hip flexibility but also arm flexibility both come into play in terms of whether or not they can put that bar lower on their back. And you mentioned the lean. Is there a set standard for the lean, or is it basically a discretion of the ref?
Discretion of the referee. They want you what they call in an upright position, and I've seen a couple of calls here this weekend where the referees have said straighten up or whatever the case might be. So, and the thing is too, the referee will usually give the lifter 5 seconds, and if they don't get to that point of straightness, they will ask them to re-rack it, and they get a chance to take it out again, and they'll tell them what the problem is. So there is an opportunity if you are leaning a little forward that they could, you still get a chance to go out and finish the lift.
So let's talk about re-rack, because that's going to allow me to talk also about the timing. Lifters are allowed 1 minute from the time that it's called for them to complete the lift, but during that 1 minute, potentially they could be asked to re-rack, especially as we're related to squats. So how does that work in terms of the timing and the re-rack, and what can a lifter do?
Well, I always, when I'm coaching lifters, I have them ready before the bar is loaded. At the very least, just wrapping a wrist wrap and already have one on, because you don't know what could happen in that time frame. You could have something where a referee calls that. So if you already went 30 seconds and then you get the re-rack and you got to walk out and you stumble a little bit, and all of a sudden you run out of time. And you've got to get the command within a minute, and that's the parameters. And I've seen lifters certainly miss that, where they were just a second short.
So so if they're asked to re-rack, and then they go to set up again, at what point does the clock stop and they're successful in their start of their attempt?
Once the referee gives the start command, then that's where the lift starts.
So they need a start command before it goes down to 0.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So that's good to know for our viewers that were watching. I know there are some questions at times. People have asked me, well, they re-racked and they got going again, and they thought that it was okay because they had stepped back, but it wasn't until the start command that it counted.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So good to know. All right. We have Melody on platform 1 with her second attempt, and we have Logan still on our first attempts on platform 2. And Logan is opening with 260 kilo. He is in the 8. That is a big number for an 83 kilo.
Big number for an 83 junior as well. So,
and we have Melody with 127.5 kilos. We'll watch her attempt. Nice and deep.
Very deep again.
Yeah.
And now we have a little bit of an issue here with Logan's squat. So he must have had maybe a rack height that wasn't correct.
It looks like a rack height issue, yeah. And that allows him then to still step back and start with a full minute.
Exactly. So because it's an error, they'll give him a full minute to start again.
All right.
So that don't count against his time. However, if he didn't put it in right initially and he walked out and said, hey, I want that changed to let's say rack height 12, then that would count against his time if he had to put it in incorrectly in the beginning.
All right, so we'll watch Logan's first attempt. He's in the 83 open or 83 junior class, big open attempt at 260 kilos. And on platform 1, we have Eleanor with her second attempt at 127.5 kilos.
Yeah, I've seen Logan lift a couple of times, big bench and big deadlifter as well.
Wow, that's a pretty impressive opening squat. And Eleanor's also successful. So both platforms, we have 3 white lights. Lifters are one of the things, again, we talked about, but I just continue to be impressed by most of these squats. These junior lifters are just ensuring that there's no question about depth. They're dropping them down.
Yeah, and that's something, again, I really find a difference in nowadays. You hardly see the squat depth. It's people make sure to get them in there, and it's one of those. Yeah, if I'm not going to get called for something as silly as squat depth.
They don't want to leave it in the hands of the referee.
Exactly.
Which is great. No,
that's the way people should be coached as well.
Right. All right, platform 2, we have Shonit with 197.5. This is the second attempt.
Rounds.
And we have Liat finishing up second attempts on platform 1 with 132.5 kilos.
Again, very deep squat, it looks like.
Depth is good. Depth is good on platform 2, it looks like. And again, 3 white lights on both platforms. One of the things that we're lucky to have is we are lucky to have one are probably the most famous announcer announcing for us on the microphone today.
Yes.
Give me a little bit of information about Gino for those who don't know Gino.
Gino is certainly is a character. We'll start with that. But Gino loves the sport of powerlifting. He travels all over the world to do it. He's in high demand. I asked him about an event in 2026, and he had to check his calendar, and he said there might be a bit of a conflict. Kind of changed it by a week or so.
2 years out. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. But Gino certainly brings some life to the sport, and something again, and not to take anything away from any person, because again, that's another volunteer usually that does the announcing, but no one does it quite like Gino.
Well, and to me what's so impressive is his encyclopedic knowledge of powerlifting. He remembers names and lifts from years ago.
Yes, exactly. And I think the first time I met Gino, I think was maybe around 2002 or somewhere in that range. And he was just getting involved he knew the sport of powerlifting, but he was just getting involved into a lot of the announcing. But he went out and got his referee's certification as well, and just to know the sport, because he said there's things I didn't know. It was, you can call somebody coming up for a particular weight, but now he knows the strategy as well in which he goes into, and he'll say why this person, now if they make this pull, it's puts them in the first place. So Gino certainly. I try to get him out my way as often as I can.
He's a real passion for the sport. He's great meeting with people, interacting with people. He'll take a picture with anybody, anywhere, anytime. He's just a real ambassador for the sport.
Absolutely.
All right, we are back to platform 1 and 2. We are on second attempts. Elizabeth is going to be attempting 152.5 kilos for her second, and Jack looks like he just completed a second successful squat. Yes, he did. 3 white lights. And we'll watch Elizabeth lift here. And again, that looks like a successful lift.
Yes, again.
The referees, it's a nice job for the referee if you don't have to worry about anything but successful lifts.
Exactly, and sometimes you may see a particular instance where one referee gave a red light and the others didn't. And again, you could be a little bit higher or deeper on one side than the other, and that's why you'll see that. And sometimes it is at the discretion of the referee, but with the depth that's happening here today, there's no doubt in many of these.
Yeah, and you bring that up, it's a good point. The view of the front referee or the head referee, as opposed to the views of the 2 side referees, is going to look very different when it comes to depth.
Yes, exactly, and I find some people are harder to call from the front. I'm an international referee, but sometimes people say, you can't really tell from the front. Good referees can, but certainly lifters that lean in a little bit, it's a little harder to tell from the front with the depth call.
Yeah, and then as you pointed out, you could have a side referee on the left side, a good lift, and a side referee on the right side say, no, that wasn't deep enough, and sometimes that can come down to an imbalance, but sometimes it comes down to hip and your physical attributes and how you're built.
Exactly, yeah, and it could be you're dealing with an injury. One thing that I've found, any athletes I've had that have been dealing with an injury, they generally go deeper on the side that's injured. It's something that I find very peculiar.
That's interesting.
And also, too, you look at it as well. So if you got someone that's, let's say, on platform 1 here, and they're deep on their left-hand side, deeper on the left-hand side. So, and if, let's say, a call comes into question, they go to the jury's looking at that side that's in, and the jury says that look fine, right? And so it could be one of those examples, depending on where the jury is sitting, could be an advantage or a disadvantage to you.
So let's talk a little bit about the jury. So when there's a referee decision and it's 2-1 in favor or 2-1 not in favor, 2 reds for whatever reason, a coach or an athlete can go to the jury?
Yes, exactly. But you do, if it's unanimous either way, you cannot go and complain to the jury. But if it's 2-1, if it's 2-1 to the good side, I'm probably not going to the jury.
No.
But again, someone that's competing against you may go to the jury.
And that's what I was going to ask, is if another person challenged it.
Yes, and we don't have any stipulations on it with the CPU. However, at the IPF, and I've had to do a couple of these at international events, you actually have to put cash on the table before they'll review it against another lifter. So that
sounds a little bit like Vegas.
Yeah, but if you win, you get it back. So I think I've done it a few times. I got the money back both times.
Well,
and,
that's good.
Yeah, they had to go to a video replay. It wasn't, it's not. It was kind of in infancy, I guess, at the time. But they went back and they had to be specifically. They said so I couldn't go with my camera and say, hey, look, this is deep enough. But it had to be the competition camera. So what we're looking at here. So they would look at that and say, yes, that looks good.
So at big events, judges will have an official feed they can look at.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's certainly helpful. That replay makes a huge difference because as we've talked about, and as I talked about a little bit yesterday, some of our lifters are really dropping deep and quickly. And I think part of that is obviously it helps them in terms of squatting the weight they're squatting, but it also helps to not leave any doubt in the mind of the referee. You don't give them time to think about whether or not you hit depth.
Exactly, and that is somewhat of an advantage. And usually people who squat fast and squat high, it actually becomes quite obvious. But as you get someone as deep, it's like, holy smokes, yeah, that was good and fast, and it all looks good.
All right, a good attempt from Matthew on platform 2. We have Emmanuel on platform 2, his second attempt, and we have Laura on platform 1 for her second attempt at 182.5 kilos in the 76 junior category. This is just slightly over 400 pounds. Slow, measured approach, but
exactly, and this would be what we call like 4 orders. So here we have a squat depth call here, and that was a 2-to-1. And let's see, the coach did go, but I think he was told very quickly that it wasn't any good.
It did appear that she just stopped.
That was one
slightly short. Yeah.
Hopefully she can come back and get it. It's not a strength problem for sure.
And that's another thing we talk about. Lifters might miss a lift. They didn't get their depth right, or they did something else wrong, but the strength might be there versus lifts where you simply didn't have the strength.
Yeah, and believe me, if you come up with a third squat, then it was relatively easy, and you got two reds or 3 reds on it because of a squat depth, you're disappointed with yourself. Put it mildly.
Yeah, so I mean, you want those third attempts to be pretty close to what you can manage.
Exactly.
All right. We have Leah on platform 1, her third attempt, so we're just starting our third attempts. 105 kilos. She's in the 76 kilo class. She grinds that out.
A little grind, but looks good.
Looks like a successful lift. Let's talk a little bit about, as we watch those lifters, we see the knees come in, and it tends to be more for female lifters than males. Is there a reason for that?
I don't know. I think, again, some of these athletes are moving up the ladder sometimes pretty quickly, and, that's probably something that they'll work on over the course of time. But there are actually a few lifters at the international level, well-known lifters, that do the same thing, and it's something I think if they correct it, they'll even be stronger.
Boy, that is a deep squat by Claude. Second attempt at 260 kilos. And very deep. We're waiting for
the lights
from the referees. We still have not heard anything or seen anything.
Oh, I see one white card, a white and a red.
Just a moment. Lucas, 262.5 kilos.
We have Eleanor on platform 1. Did you see the final result
I think
of that?
they said it was a Quebec lifter, and Gino had said bon, so I think that's good.
Okay.
I don't know if they're still discussing or not. I did see a white card and a red card, but I didn't see the third one.
Eleanor was successful on platform 1. We have Lucas up on platform 2. Attempting his second at 262.5 kilos. He is in the 83 junior class. That is a big squat for an 83 kilo lifter. And we have Stephanie on platform 1, her third attempt at 135 kilos in the 76 junior class.
Stephanie on platform
As we watch Lucas and as we watch Stephanie, one of the things I'm going to ask as the lifters go up in weights, one of the things people watching our screen will see is that the racks will be put inside tighter or closer,
yes,
or they'll be pushed out. And what is the reason for that?
Some lifters, when you see bigger athletes doing it, generally it's because where the uprights are for the squat rack is right where their hand placement would be. So they actually pull it in so they can put their hands out wide, and sometimes it's right next to the weight. When you see some of the smaller people do it, it's probably two reasons. Some people get it; they feel that they're closer to the weight, so when they lift it off, it's not so much shifting. That's one particular reason. Another reason is because sometimes they clip the rack on the way out if they keep it out wide, and by clipping it actually throws you off your balance a little bit. It happens to me now and again, and it's unnerving to say the least. But I have to leave it out because my hand position is where it's at, and I can't get it wider and I can't get it closer.
All right, so there's an explanation as to why you see those racks either inside or further wider out. And we have all of our equipment, our platform equipment is provided by MedRx, which we are very grateful for.
Yes, a great product. I have two at my gym.
All right, we have 3 white lights for Liat on our third squat. She's happy, 140 kilos. It's always nice to get that third squat in successfully. And we are waiting for Shunit on platform 2. He might be timing out, we're not sure, for his second. Oh, no, there we go. Just he's being very deliberate in his approach, which is the way some lifters do this. And he is attempting 197.5 kilos in the 83 kilo class.
I think that might be a mistake. Because this is 270 on the bar.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's definitely not 192.
Definitely not. No.
There's a misprint there.
Yes, this is Lucas. That one was close on depth, I think. Let's see.
Yeah, that's Lucas, and that's got
all 3 whites.
Good. 3 whites.
Logan.
Excuse me, Logan. Not Lucas. So Logan's second attempt at 270 was successful. And on platform 1, Liat's third attempt is also successful, 3 whites. You see these junior lifters, and there might be their first, second, third meet, even their fourth or fifth meet, and it's just fun to watch how excited they get when they're successful with their lifts.
Oh, absolutely, and especially now the sport is new, and this is something where this is probably the biggest weight they've ever done in this, and including in gym training, things like this. So yeah, of course it's good. The third squat is always a big one to get in.
And it's a nice lead into the bench and the deadlift, because obviously your lower body gets a rest on the bench. You still use your lower body, but you do get a rest. Having that third squat, being successful, it means you've got a big number. It's something that you probably were hoping to get, and it leads in nicely to the bench.
Exactly. It builds your confidence, and you also get that extra little push. Say, hey, things are going great today, and you just keep things rolling along there.
And a third successful lift on platform 1. Here we go. Here's Shunit with a 207.5 kilo third attempt. So we had Logan was a lifter before. A little bit of a mix-up there. We now have Shunit here with the third attempt. 207.5 kilos.
Again, looks very deep.
It looks pretty good from here.
Haley, bars ready.
And it's a successful third lift. Platform 1, we are into our third attempts. Kaylee's going to be attempting 160 kilos in the 76 kilo class. I'm going to ask you a little bit here in just a second about stances and about how wide and how narrow lifters put their feet, and what are some of the differences and maybe advantages and disadvantages as we watch Kaylee. Nice and deep. She's got to grind it out a bit in the middle, but it looks good.
Yes,
and it is. So why do lifters go narrow or wide in particular?
Sometimes it is a personal preference. Generally speaking, as I find people are stronger hip squatters can usually go a little bit wider. But you have to have a bit of flexibility if you're going to go wider as well, because it is harder to make depth. A lot of people are quad dominant, generally have the closer stance.
So again, physiology makes a difference. Obviously, flexibility makes a difference, and then strength, whether it's quad strength or So you see a variety of different. It's one of the things I like about powerlifting is we have very strict standards as to what you need to do to be successful. But boy, there are a lot of variety of approaches.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Sometimes you see things you just say, "What makes that person a good deadlifter?" And then you're like, "There's no good reason for it, but they just are."
Elizabeth almost managed to pull that out.
Yeah, she was an inch from getting that moving through that sticking point.
Yeah, there's a sticking point on the way up on the squat for a lot of people. Now, some people may get stuck at the bottom, but for a lot of squatters, you make that bounce out of the hole, or you start your ascent back up, and it's that transition about midway through.
Yes, it's about 6 to 8 inches out of the bottom is where you kind of, and sometimes the speed coming out of the bottom will pull you through that, and sometimes it's just pure strength and being able to stay in that pocket.
And one of the things that I know that has always been something I'm working on is lifters talk about brace when you're squatting, bracing yourself, so making your torso tight.
Yes, yeah. So basically, what you're doing is that you're pushing your belly into your belt, and that stabilizes your core, and you try to hold that throughout the lift.
All right. So the more solid you can keep your torso or your core, the easier it's going to be to keep the weight moving forward or upward and not fall forward.
Exactly. Keep yourself upright as well. And you'll see a lot of lifters take a big breath before they go, and they'll actually, instead of we used to back in the day, we used to be told to breathe into your chest, but now you're told to breathe into your belly.
Gotcha. All right, we have Ariana coming up on platform 1. We have Tung Zwan on platform 2. His last attempt at 227.5 kilos, and that will keep him, I believe, in third place in the 83 kilo class at just over 500 pounds, 501.5 pounds. Very narrow grip in terms of his hands. Gets his.
Yeah, again, that's very good flexibility. He's about 6 inches inside the 81 centimeter mark on the bar, so that's very flexible.
That's definitely not something us older lifters do anymore.
I sure can.
I can't do it either. All right, let's watch here. Oh, that's a solid third attempt. That looked pretty good to me. And
he got one red. Might be on depth. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but 2 whites, he's good.
Yeah.
And on platform 1, we have Ariana with her third attempt at 170.5 kilos.
That one looked a little high.
That one looked like she might not have gotten all the way down on it. And yeah,
it's almost like she lost a bit of balance and decided to just transition it at that time.
Yeah. So, third attempt, she's trying probably close to her max, if not a little bit over her max, and she just cut that a little high on that last attempt.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Sometimes that's the psychology of lifting as well, because you did the prep. Your coach probably thinks that's a lift you can make, but it feels heavy on your back sometimes. And sometimes that you'll cut it a little short just because of the way it feels.
And it's more psychological
it can
than
be
it
a
is actually
psychological
physical
thing
yeah.
as much as physical. Yes.
Yeah. We're watching Danny here on his third attempt at 232.5. Want to talk a little bit about that. So the psychological aspect of that in terms of a failed attempt. But what about when lifters, and we saw this happen twice yesterday, lifters come out of a failed attempt, they don't manage to successfully squat and stand up, and they let go or they walk away from the bar. Talk about that and why that's such a potentially dangerous thing to happen.
Well, it's dangerous, and it's something that we certainly would like not to happen at all. I have seen lifters who have failed by mistake or lost their balance. I've seen lifters that finished the lift and got up to the top and just whatever happened, they tipped backwards, and then of course the weight went backwards. But it's so dangerous for the spotters and loaders as well, because they're just there to help you, and they'll walk in, and if you fail in the bottom, they're there to help you up, and as you'll probably hear spotters say, stay with the bar, and that's the reason why, because even if they dump it from the low position, you got 600 pounds lands on somebody's toe, you got a broken foot, and possibly more damage. And I have seen a couple of people seriously injured spotting and loading at these events, and as I mentioned earlier, the event can't run without these volunteers, and you certainly don't want them getting injured while they're helping you.
And the loaders and the spotters, are they're going to help you raise that. As long as you stay with the bar, they're going to make sure that nothing happens to you.
Exactly.
It's when a lifter falls forward or kind of releases the bar out of their hands, or I have seen, unfortunately, on one occasion, not at this meet, where a lifter literally went forward and let it go over their head to get out of the lift, and what happened was it landed on one of the spotters' feet.
Yeah.
So if you stay with the bar, they will help you stand up regardless how successful you've been in the lift.
Exactly. They'll stay with you. I have seen a couple over the years of where the bar's gone over the person's head, and you also got to remember if the bar goes over your head, there's a big potential for whiplash, because once the bar comes to your head and it releases over your head, then you're going to snap back, and you can probably do some permanent damage to yourself. So you also got to be careful. I mean, we're you got young men here that are 600 pounds plus, and you got young ladies that are up in the 450s, and not everybody can handle that kind of a weight, and we do this with years of training. So if you do something that really goes off kilter, then yes, there is a potential that someone can get hurt.
We have wrapped up our squats on platform 1 on the females, and so they're taking a break before they start bench. It'll be flight 1 for the bench in about probably 10 minutes. We're wrapping up our platform 2 male junior squats. We are probably 4 or 5 lifters away from finishing up our second fight on platform 2, so we can focus on our lifters on platform 2 for a minute or two. Matthew LaRoche coming in from Quebec. Here's another individual who's come out west probably to qualify, and he is attempting 247.5 kilos. And he is grinding that one out.
It's a big grind, yes. But let's hope he got the lights. Yes,
yeah, 3 whites.
Good.
Yep. The bar continued to move up, which was the main thing. So good for him, and a nice deep squat. We are, like I said, we're back on our last few lifters in the second flight here on the male junior side, platform 2. Third squat for Lucas, coming up 267.5 kilos in the 83 junior class. Just shy of 600 pounds, about 10 pounds shy of 600 pounds.
Yeah, it's definitely a big lift for a junior that's around 180 pounds.
Yeah, I'm always amazed by the progress some of the juniors make when they get into powerlifting early. They get better younger and younger. So it used to be you had to really work at it for a few years to get those big numbers up. And now you see lifters starting at 13 or 14, and by the time they're 19 and 20, they're hitting big numbers.
Exactly, and I'm sure we'll see some lifters here in the junior ranks that'll be competitive in the open ranks within a few years. Maybe even some that might be able to make an open team spot.
All right, here we go. Lucas with his third attempt. Setting up his brace. Nice and deep. Wow. It's a good grind. And 3 whites. A successful attempt for Lucas. Finishes off his squats nicely. We've got Claude coming up. Another lifter from Quebec.
And just over 600 pounds.
And just over 600 pounds, 272.5 kilos. And he's another 83 lifter, a very competitive 83 junior class.
Yeah, exactly. And the lifters 83, 93 are where you're going to find the bulk of your lifters. And someone might say, well, why is that? And that's because that's where the bulk of people sit at in regards to body weight. In society, meaning. So, if you've got a fair percentage of your society, let's say 30% that sits in the 200-pound mark, then this is where you're going to get the people in the weight classes as well.
All right, let's watch Claude lift his third attempt here, 600 pounds.
Very wide squat.
Wide stance.
600 pounds.
Yeah, made it look easy.
And it's a successful third attempt, and he's excited. And we have Logan coming up with his third attempt at 277.5 kilos, 611, just shy of 612 pounds. When you talked about those body weights, 83, 93 being a real natural body weight for a lot of individuals, talk a little bit about height versus weight in terms of, I know that certain individuals will start out maybe as a 93, but by the time they're in their 20s or into their 30s, or even as a masters, as they fill out, as they put more muscle mass on, they're what we have heard, or what the term I have heard, they're too tall for their weight class.
Yeah, and we look at athletes that might have, let's say, a slender build, and I work with a couple of young athletes in 15, 16 years old, and they might be 5'11", and you might be 160 pounds now, but you're likely not going to be 160 pounds once you start weight training, and you'll probably fill in nicely in the 83, 93 in the future.
Let's see what the refs say.
77's a big squat.
Wow, another big squat by another 83 kilo lifter. And that is our last squat on platform 2. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back on platform 1 in about 5 minutes, platform 2 in about 10 minutes with the bench press. As we sit here and as the individuals are taking a break and the lifters are warming up backstage, we've had very good crowds yesterday and today. The numbers have been impressive. They continue to get bigger as the day goes on. Certainly as we're now in our second session, session 5 for the meet, and as we get into the evening session, we also have talked a little bit about how a meet is set up in terms of, I know that on Saturday and Sunday we have lifters in certain weight classes in the open classes that tend to get more recognition than other, that tends to be where a lot of the name lifters wind up.
Yes, that's correct. And not only that, you will get some of the junior lifters and maybe even some of the master lifters that'll sit around and or stick around Moose Jaw, let's say, for a few days, and just because they want to see those lifters lift. And it's in your hometown, you might not get the opportunity to see some of these lifters lift again for a while. So it's an opportunity, and most people here know who some of the bigger name lifters are, and they'd love the opportunity just to see it in live in person. And some of our bigger name lifters, there's going to be competition for everybody here. I don't think there's anyone that's walking away with a give me in this event. So and again, the crowds will start to grow, and as people are now working during the day over the weekends as well, I expect a lot of the gym goers will come up and take in some of the event.
Yeah, I know that we have particularly strong classes, and I'll mention 3 classes in particular. The 83 kilo open men, very strong class. We have the 76 kilo women, very strong class, and we have the 120 kilo men.
Yes.
We have some names that have been at world championships, that have won world championships, that are obviously vying again for Canadian team places, and people who are recognized names in powerlifting.
Yeah, and those are the ones that some of these, as I mentioned earlier, a few people had mentioned getting together so they would have more or less their nationals here. And I can think of one name actually. I saw a notice today, Kafwi Hatspani. He is backed out of the 83s, and he's I think the leader right now in the previous events. He has the biggest total as far as I know that's there, and he'll have a couple of lifters that will have an opportunity to beat that total now, and he might not be able to defend himself. But I think he unfortunately had an injury. He tried to get through it, and it just didn't happen.
Right. No, I saw that as well. He had posted that on his Instagram page. That I think it was about 2 weeks ago. He tried to work through it with his physical therapist and his doctor, and he said, "It's just I'm not going to be able to be at 100% for this meet," and withdrew. So yeah, still a very strong 83 field. There's still a number of lifters that are at the top end, and when we talk about the top lifters in a weight class, in IPF it's done by points in terms of a point system. Obviously weight is important, but a point system applies your weight plus how much you lift. And let's talk a little bit about the point system.
Yeah, so that's our good lift points, and generally that's our pound for pound. It allows us to compare a lifter, let's say that's a 66 kilo lifter, to a 120 kilo lifter, someone that's twice as big as yourself. And it's a good tool. There's been different versions of that over the years in powerlifting. I think the good lift one is pretty close. You'll also hear people talking about dots, and dots is it's one that's kind of become popular, but we use the good lift, and so that's no matter what. If someone was the best lifter here and they have the top good lift points, someone says, well, you wouldn't have had the best dots on me. No one really cares about that for this one, because that's not what we're recognized as. So,
all right, we have started our bench on platform 1 for the female juniors. Erica Penner's up with her first bench attempt at 57.5 kilos. She's a 69 junior lifter. Jeff, I want to talk a little bit. You've just been elected to a term as president of CPU. What are some of the goals that you have? It's a 3-year term, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Some of the goals that you have, but also maybe some of the challenges you think, or some of the opportunities, let's say.
Yeah. I mean, certainly the development of the youth program is something that I think that we could certainly benefit from, because I mean, the younger lifters are our future. We see it here. We see the great quality of lifting. A lot of these young gentlemen and women are. Between 19 and 23 years old, and they're going to be the people that we're going to be watching in the future, and they're going to be the next Bryce Krawchucks and things like that. So I mean, that's something we certainly want to develop. We also, we're looking at things in regards to our world teams, and we don't get sports funding the way many sports do, and that's something that we've dealt with, I guess, a little bit with the last executive, but it's something that hopefully, and the problem is, I guess this one would happen at a federal level of government, but if that's something that we could ever generate that funding, then we could start to pay our athletes to go to events and pay coaches and things like that. We do help out our coaches and referees and things like that now, but to be able to really help out the athletes is certainly a big thing. And I'd like to see quality meets. I'd like to see meets that look like this, looks like it's at a professional level. And I'd like to see that at a lot of levels, regardless of where you are. Putting together bigger meets and, just not putting together meets for the fun of it, or, trying to accommodate one or two people. We should, have a calendar out there and making sure that the meets, people know if they want to be involved, they got to get out there and lift. And I think that'll certainly help grow the sport too as well. So those are a few, certainly some of the challenges. I mean, we are a big country, and right now we're not funded, and so we compete against teams at the international level. Like, I think I've coached a couple of the female teams within the last 5 years, and we finished, let's say, in the top 2 and top 3 and 4 in the world. But we're competing against countries that are funded, and that obviously puts us at a disadvantage, because we got people that are we're competing against that their job is to train, and they have therapists and people or professionals around them every day, and the whole goal is to get better. And our people got to work. You got to go to work, and if you want to go to a world championship, you got to work sometimes a good job to be able to afford some of it, and so it puts us at somewhat of a disadvantage, but it's one of the things that I see is could really make a big difference, and we could start to have those top level teams each and every year and help out those athletes. Things like if we're able to run training camps where we get those people in working with the coaches that they've been working with at the events and things. So I mean, those are certainly a few things that pop to mind.
I wanted to circle back and to the funding question, because I know in Canada sports are funded at a federal level if there's a certain level of participation. What is our where are we at in terms of that?
Well, one thing that actually has changed, the federal government more recently has come out and said it's not about the numbers, it's how you fit into the world and international rankings and things like that. So we meet the criteria that's out there now, but in the past, the number's always been 5,000, and we're just short of 4,000 now. So even if that becomes a criteria again, and like I said, it's at the federal level right now. They have our application, and they said our application is good for the next year, and at that point in time, we can probably look at it again. And I'd like to see before the end of this year, one of my goals would be that the membership is over 4,000, and then over the next couple of years build that to 4,500, 4,700, and then in hopefully the term following that, we'd be able to hit that 5,000 mark. If it happens sooner, that'd be great. But that'd be some short-term goals that I would see as being beneficial for us.
Because when we talk about our funding, and of course government funding would be crucial in terms of those national camps, in terms of sending more lifters, funded lifters, to international events. There are countries, and top 5 countries, you can help me out here, I'll just mention a few, though obviously the U.S. is one. I think France has risen recently, has become a very strong powerlifting nation.
Female is top-notch.
The British are always strong. We have Australia and New Zealand tend to be very strong. Those countries are all getting funding.
As far as I know, I'm not sure how the U.S. works, and again, the U.S. had a different organization take over, so they're working through that. But I would assume over the next little while they'll be funded, and they have a number of athletes too that are fairly well sponsored. So they're probably sponsored to the level that they're going as if they're funded. Let's say, The France team, as what's impressed me, also to Italy in the female team is starting to really come along too as well, and again we're always in there with them, and if it continues the way it is, we might fall behind where I think we could be competitive.
Yeah, it's just another thing I like about powerlifting. All ages, all sizes, all shapes. Everybody can participate, and it's just for someone who's relatively new to competitive powerlifting, as an M3 lifter, it's just a neat opportunity to be an athlete at my age and be a competitive athlete.
Yeah, exactly, and I mean, there's not many sports where you might have some level of competition in things, but you're in the thick of things. You're at the same nationals as some of the top lifters in the country, and I think that's a good thing. And we're probably one of the only sports that I see like that. Also, too, there's with the IPF lifting, there's a World Games, which is our version of the Olympics. And that's happening next year. They're also talking about now they're part of a Masters Games where we would have a World Games for master lifters. So that'll be something hopefully that in the future that'll get developed, and we could go to Olympic style event. If you're in your 40s and older.
All right, let's get back to the platforms. Both platforms are now underway for bench press, first attempts. On platform 1, we have Nicola with her opening attempt at 77.5 kilos. And on platform 2, we have Zachary with his opener at 117.5 kilos. As I mentioned, we have a very strong 83 junior male class. We also have a very strong 69 junior female class. Number of lifters in both of those flights. And we currently are looking at Nicola. Very solid opener.
Wow,
very
easy. White lights.
Just going to throw that to the roof.
And we're just waiting on Zachary as we wait for Carla to get set up on platform 1 with her opener at 80 kilos. When we talk about coaching and we talk about the 3 lifts, coaching can also become a very specialized approach in terms of powerlifting. I know there are coaches that coach all lifts, but there are also coaches that are bench press specialists, and there are coaches that do, obviously nutrition, or other coaches, but maybe that do equipped and don't do classic. So explain to me a little bit why someone would be a specialist, other than the fact that that's what they do well.
Sometimes it's the mentality. Sometimes I find with equipped lifting, you probably need more people around you because it does become a little more dangerous, let's say, than the classic lifting. I feel fairly comfortable going into the gym and doing, 85, maybe even up to 90% of what my classic max would be. I wouldn't even think about that if I'm in equipment, unless I got 3 or 4 good people around me that know what's going to happen, and the success in the lifts might be pretty much the same for me. However, it's a comfort level of putting 20 or 30 kilos more on the bar than what you could handle classic-wise. I find with bench especially, we have a couple of bench specialists, in this country as well, and that can be a different thing in itself. And there's some risk versus reward in it, and maybe not a consistency as you would get in let's say people benching here today. But also opportunity to make some very big lifts and put. I think we got Garrett Bentley. I think has the biggest bench in the country, not in the country, in the world over the last year or so. And that's in equipment.
Yeah, and as you point out, when you do equipped lifting, particularly as it applies to bench and squat, you do need to have essentially a small team to do those kinds of lifts.
Yeah, there are some people that had some success, but I've been lifting for 30 years, and I started with equipped lifting and did that for 25 years straight before I touched classic. Yeah, I always had a good group around me, and I only felt comfortable with that. like I said, with classic, I don't mind going to the gym myself and going and doing a workout, and a fairly heavy workout.
And part of that approach, the classic approach, feeling safer. You can get to the gym and do a workout. You don't have to go with 2 or 3 other people with you. I think has been part of the appeal and the growth of powerlifting. Is that you see the younger lifters, not that they don't like equipped or that they might not do it, because I think they're open to trying it, but that they can start on their own.
Yeah, and it is a hard thing to start on their own. There are some tools out there. They have different things like slingshots and things like that now that are mimic, let's say, a bencher. And you see a lot of people, they do reverse bands and things, again, mimicking a deadlift suit or a squat suit. But again, I do think you need it's an extra expense too as well. But I think as sometimes you start to see these classes become, let's say, dominated by the same people, you might see some people might say, hey, maybe I'll give the equipped a shot, and or maybe some of the gyms that have a number of lifters around, they would go out and buy some equipment, and by equipment I mean squat suits and bench shirts and deadlift suits and things like that, and try it. And it usually starts with a pair of knee wraps and goes from there.
All right, we are watching on platform 2 Jasper with his first attempt at 142.5 kilos, and Dylan will be up next, attempting 160. On platform 1, Erica is coming out for her second attempt. We're on second attempts already on platform 1 at 62.5 kilos. And so we have, I believe, 10 or 11 lifters in the 62 kilo female junior class, a large group. And as we pointed out, a very competitive group this afternoon, and we're waiting on Erica's second attempt.
Yeah, because we have Erica here ranked 10th, so that's a big group for, especially again, and that's also a plus that I see going forward. Our females are growing. I come from Newfoundland, and I think we're about 50-50 in Newfoundland as we sit now, and we're starting to see the numbers really start to close together, because traditionally, let's say, it was men that were more involved with the sports like powerlifting, but I'd really like to see that gap closed, and I think that's a great thing for the sport.
Yeah, there's been a lot of growth on the female side of powerlifting, which is wonderful to see, because we want that opportunity available to everybody. I think classic lifting has helped in that regard. I think social media has helped in that regard. I also think just the quality of coaching and the ability to find someone who will instruct you or coach you on how to powerlift, all of those things have contributed to, as you point out, Newfoundland's probably close to 50-50. I believe in Saskatchewan it's that way as well. Might even be a little higher on the female side.
Might be, yeah.
And a number of the provinces are in that same situation. It's just a great thing to see overall for the sport.
Yeah, exactly. And success breeds success. And people will look at it. You may have done one powerlifting meet. You see the Canadian women's team finish third at Worlds. That might be something. Hey, maybe that could be me someday.
Yeah, I definitely think that's something that these younger lifters and these newer lifters look at that and say, man, there's a possibility there.
Yeah.
I could be on an international team, and I might not be able to do that in another sport.
Yeah, and I mean, let's face it. There's a lot of sports out there, and if I remember back when I first lifted, and one of the things said, oh, by the way, you qualified for nationals, and oh, great. And then you go to nationals, you finish, and I finished second at my first nationals. There, oh, by the way, you got enough points to make the national team, and you can go to Worlds in your first year. And I was like, holy smokes, I give up playing hockey for it. So
well, it's funny you said that, because I was just going to point out, I was so ambitious as a young kid as far as playing hockey. I wanted to be an NHL hockey player growing up, like all the kids did when they were growing up.
Exactly.
And believe me, that dream died a hard death a long, long time ago. So yeah, there's certainly opportunities in powerlifting, and again, there's the combination of your success is largely part of your efforts as an individual,
yeah.
But at the same time, it's very much a community kind of event where it's a close-knit community.
Yeah, and exactly. I think I look back to when I started, and there was 500 or 600 lifters across the country, and so you were one of a small pocket, So there, even I found back then, if you got involved with a few people and got them lifting with you, and they had some success, then it would grow, and And I moved here in Moose Jaw from Newfoundland in '96, and there wasn't an association here at the time, and so we got that moving along, and and now you've got an event like this that's world class, and we've had a number of world events here in Saskatchewan, and that's all it takes sometimes. The community stuck together, and again, it's the success breeding success.
Yeah, you've got those individuals like yourself, like people like Ray and Ryan and Ryan Fowler and Heidi Fowler that have become anchors in terms of the powerlifting community. I'm using Saskatchewan as the example since we just talked about it, but that's true of every province, and that has bred a lot of success and growth.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, I'm, I guess, lucky enough that when I started lifting, in Newfoundland and Labrador, we already had a number of successful people that have lifted at World Games, and there was some people like, holy smokes, I'm going in and training in the basements with some of these people, and it's like, I remember when I was very young, I went for a workout in St. John's from out around home, which is about an hour and a half from St. John's, and lifted with the guy that had won the best lifter junior, and I'm training with that guy, and outbenched him a little bit that day. So that inspired me to say, hey, gee, maybe I'm pretty good at this or whatever. But it is one of those things. It was, but it wasn't about that. But it was just it makes you realize that you do have maybe some ability there.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely something that's helped the sport grow. We're watching Sophie on platform 1. We're into second attempts here on platform 1. She's attempting 75 kilos. She's currently in first place in the 84 junior class. And that looks like a successful bench.
Very nice lift.
Yep, up and down very quickly. We're waiting on the lights for the referees to give us a...
Oh, I think the lights might be down, or grabbing for the cards.
So talk about that a little bit. If our electronic system for refereeing goes down, we go to a card system, and how does that all work?
So the card system, you've got white, which represents the same as a white light, and then you have a red, which is normally it's bad. But also within the bad lights, we got red, yellow, and blue, and those all signify different infractions.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're watching Zachary here on platform 2.
Technology is great when it works, and when it don't, you got to improvise. And
I think we are on cards on platform 2 as well. So we currently have moved to cards, which means our referees will hold up a white card for a successful lift, or a red card, and when they hold up the red, will they hold up a color for the infraction as well?
The red is an infraction in itself,
right?
Yeah. So but usually they'll hold up let's say the infraction is yellow. Let's say your butt came off the bench. They'll just hold up the yellow card.
Oh, okay.
So you really want to that helps the jury to determine what the person called, because if there is a dispute on the lift, the jury can say, okay, well, he called the butt off, but I clearly saw the butt was still on, or just barely stayed on, or whatever, right? So it gives them something to I guess judge the judge on.
So one of the things that I've told people that are new to lifting, and it's probably a simplified approach, but it helps them because a lot of lifters don't understand what the infractions are in terms of the red, the yellow, and the blue. And so I help them out by saying red is the easiest to understand. Blue is typically the second easiest, and yellow is the one where you're going to have to spend some time learning all of those, because red is almost always about depth and squats, and then you can explain what it is for bench and deadlift. Yeah,
and bench is actually a funny one, because one of the main things in bench, in shirted or equipped lifting, is the ability to be able to touch your chest or to touch too low, and that's actually what the infraction for one is. So that's but for me, I think the most it's usually the up and down on the bar or uneven extension, or your butt comes off the bench. So it's one of those where it's not necessarily graded for what the most or the biggest call is, let's say. And that was I think done a number of years back when the equipped bench shirts got a little bit tighter and people were having trouble actually touching their chest with the weight. I always think they should change the bench cards, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, so a lot of younger lifters, it would help them. It would make sense. I've chosen this as an opportunity for growth. I'm really trying to learn those cards and learn all of the infractions, so that when I do make a mistake, I'm not walking away back to the warm-up area thinking, what the heck did I do? I know what I did. I see the infraction. and it helps me in terms of becoming a better lifter. We do have our system back up. We do have our electronic system for 3 white lights. We have Francesca on platform 1. And now we're back to cards again. So we're going back and forth here. And we have Mathis. There we go.
So
Mathis did not get a successful second attempt. 2 reds.
So this is a new infraction that's just come into play, and he got 2 red lights on it. And this is also the new card now for the red card, is the elbows have to be deeper than the middle of your shoulder. So they did this rule in the last few years because they found people who had the excessive arches had a very short range of motion, and they thought that it wasn't a fair assessment of a bench press, and some people said it wasn't a bench press at all. So they right now that's a new rule, and that's the first time I've seen it called here, I think this weekend actually, because people have adjusted. They usually can move their grip in a little bit or sink it a little bit and make sure they get that elbow depth.
And it's definitely a new rule in the past, like you said, 2 or 3 years, where the elbow has to come below the middle of the shoulder when you bring the bar down, the bench press bar down to your chest. We'll watch this now on platform 2, and here's a good example we can watch, and his elbows are definitely deep below the shoulder.
Exactly, yeah.
So, and that's typically a problem more for those lifters that have a high arch.
Have the big arch, yeah. Sometimes people have big girth as well. You will find that you may find that a little bit.
And Jasper with a successful lift on 2. We have Carl on platform 1. And Dylan is now up on platform 2 and his second attempt at 165 kilos. Carla will be attempting 85 kilos. She's in the 69 junior class. This is her second attempt. And she is setting up.
Carla gets those shoulder blades flat. She gets her arch.
Yeah, and looking at Carla here, she's trying to hold her arch up, so she'll be one that maybe, you can see on the left side, her elbow went deeper than the right side, and let's see. And of course, she just got the red light on that side, yeah. So both elbows are meant to be to go below.
Yeah, so again, she sets up with the high arch, and then, as you pointed out, the one elbow was successful in getting deep enough, the other one was not.
Yeah. And it's easier for that ref on that side to see that she didn't quite get it there.
Right.
So, and that was perfect timing.
Perfect timing for our conversation.
Exactly.
Yes. Dylan was successful on platform 2. We have Ian on platform 1, and Zachary now about to come up on platform 2. Let's talk a little bit about the setup as we watch Ian also kind of set up with a high arch. What is the benefit of an arch for a bench presser?
So with the arch, you're trying to limit the range of motion. So again, you're not having to push as far. And again, she was probably a little bit close on the left side, but it was good. But it wasn't buried, let's say. It wasn't one you looked at and said, that's absolutely perfect, that kind of thing. The arch shortens the distance, and you tuck your elbows in a little bit, and you got less I guess distance to push the bar, and therefore you should be able to lift more weight.
So now I'm going to bring this up. It's controversial when you walk into a commercial gym or just a gym anywhere in whatever city you're in, where the person in the gym will say, well, wait a minute, that's not fair, that's cheating. But the point of the matter is the arch is within the rules as long as you hit the elbow depth.
Yes.
And as long as your butt and your shoulders and your head are on the bench.
Exactly.
And so the goal is not to look pretty. The goal is to lift the most amount of weight.
Exactly. Legally.
Yes,
legally.
Within the rules.
Within the rules. And that's the thing with the big arches for previously before this rule was in place. That's what everyone said. Oh, that's cheating, and that's not a real bench, and that person hasn't developed their strength, and likely they probably didn't develop strength the same way you or I would, but they developed their arch and they developed their flexibility, and that helped them at the time. Now it kind of might set them back a little bit, but I've seen that at an international level, and I thought that everyone was still within the same range. They've made the adjustment as some people moved the grip in a little bit closer, some people flatten out the arch a little bit. And it's not that big of a difference.
And good athletes make adjustments.
Exactly.
Yeah. They'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah. If you're not a strong skater, you work on your skating. It's that simple.
Yeah. All right. We've got Carson up on platform 2, Shakina Grace on platform 1 for her third attempt. We're on third attempts now on platform 1 on our first flight of bench. And that looks successful. And yeah, 2 to 1.
And again, so you see the yellow is there. That may have been her butt came up. Usually that's the most popular, but the yellow is usually all the other things. So it's little things like change of position. Your foot may have come off the floor. Your butt may have come off the bench. Your foot may have slipped. There's a lot of little rules within that one.
And so you have to have your foot fully flat on the floor.
Totally flat.
You cannot be up on your toes.
Exactly.
But your foot can move slightly as long as it stays flat.
As long as it stays flat. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I see that sometimes with individuals with high arches.
Yes.
As they're coming back up on the press command, it will slide a little bit.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We have Erica on platform 1, Max on platform 2. Max's second attempt, over 400 pounds, 190 kilos. And we have Erica pressing for her third attempt at 65 kilos in the 69 kilo class. One of the rules we have for bench press, again, if you're in powerlifting, you know this. If you're not, if you're new to powerlifting, you may not, is that there is a minimum and maximum width grip, and in terms of where you can place your hands.
Yes. So the 81 centimeter mark, and you can see it if you're watching the live stream. You can see it as where most people are placing their hands roughly. So you have to cover that mark with your hand or be inside.
Now,
So
how narrow can you be?
you can be as narrow as you want.
So there's no minimum narrow.
No minimum. I would say I don't think I've ever seen anyone inside what we call the knurl of the bar, the rough part of the bar. And if, again, looking at the bar here, you can see where it's smooth, where you have the red tape on one side. That's what we call the smooth of the bar, and the knurl is the rough part, the grippy part.
It's a good grind by Ava on her third attempt. Yes, successful too. Good third lift. One of the things we talk about, you have to 81 centimeters. You can cover that mark because there's a mark on both sides of the bar at the 81 centimeter mark. Yeah. But you cannot. Your hand has to cover it in some fashion, or be inside of it. It cannot be outside of that mark.
Exactly. The rule again, as rules have changed over the years, there used to be a rule where you could offset. Like, let's say you were an inch outside to one side, you could be an inch inside, but the referee said, hey, we can't tell if the inch is an inch, so you have to at least cover both sides, and then we know that if you have to adjust, then you bring the other hand in.
The rules being met by covering both sides.
Exactly. Yeah.
The refs have a difficult job already.
Yeah, it's kind of like the forward lean in the squat. It was one of those where I think they had, if you lean more than 15%. Now, if you're looking at a person, how do you know what 15% is, right? That became very, very subjective.
And each individual is different, obviously.
Exactly.
All right, we have Mathis up for his third attempt. Third attempts are now on platform 2. We're well into our third attempts on platform 1. Jennifer's attempting 72.5 kilos. Mathis is attempting 130 kilos for his third attempt. And he is another lifter from Quebec. It seems like a contingent of junior lifters are here from Quebec.
Yes, and if you look at the situation here with Mathis, it looks like he's missed maybe his first 2 benches, and he will have to make this one to stay in the contest.
He does need to make this to stay in the contest. This is his third attempt at 130 kilos.
Exactly. So this is a case where he's made a squat, but if he don't make a bench, he don't come out for the deadlift.
All right, we'll hope that Matthews
let's
make
hope.
this.
Bench looks strong.
I'm thinking maybe the first 2 attempts were technical.
And again, he's the one that was called on the elbow depth, and he's still got a red here on, but it looks like it's okay. And hopefully, if the jury don't say anything, he's in the contest. That's good. Bombing out is definitely not a good feeling.
No. Now, fortunately, I've never bombed out. I'm not to say that I might not in the future, but I haven't yet. But it is not a good feeling to come and put all the time and effort into a meet and then not be able to complete the meet.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably one of the worst things I think that can happen in a powerlifting meet. I'd say the only one that probably would be worse at this point is not making weight, so you don't even get the lift at all.
Right. And so we have weight classes throughout powerlifting, various weight classes for both female and male lifters. And lifters lift within that weight class. They have to make that weight class. And again, talk to us a little bit about that weight. That weight is recorded 2 hours prior to the start of the meet on the day of the meet that you're lifting.
Exactly. And again, you will hear different things in different sports where you have 24-hour weigh-ins and things like that. Every athlete here today would weigh in 2 hours prior to the start of the competition. So they're more exact weight, or certainly would be more exact to what it would. Now that's not to say people don't cut a little bit of weight in the end and weigh a little bit heavier, but you have to make weight. And at all levels, I think at most provincial and local levels, you don't have to make weight that you specify, but anything from regionals and above, and some provinces may have some variations on that, but from regionals above, you actually have to make the weight that you specify, or you don't lift at all. It's not even a chance to lift, and it doesn't count. You don't lift.
And one of the things I think is a safety factor, because we have seen in other sports, and I'll mention MMA and boxing and some other sports, where they might have a 24 or 40-hour weigh-in, and these individuals are dropping 20, 25 pounds and then loading back up after the weigh-in. It's dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. And they've always, and not to say it's always, but some of the people that have gotten killed in boxing specifically generally has been from big weight cuts. So you got the heavyweights are the biggest punchers, and you think you would see it more there. But one thing that and I've heard this study long ago, so it's probably outdated a little bit, but most deaths in boxing came from someone that had huge weight cuts.
Well, and I just saw something that was posted where in MMA, which is an extremely popular sport now, relatively new sport, that there were individuals that were cutting 17 to 20 pounds, 48 hours out, and they're fighting, let's say, let's call it an 83 kilo class, which is in pounds 176, I believe, or something, 178.
Yes.
And they're cutting down to make that weight, and they're fighting at 200 pounds.
Yes, exactly.
And that's dangerous for the other fighter.
Oh yes, absolutely, especially if it's someone that stays, let's say, pretty close to the weight class. And you look at it here, the difference in 20 pounds in regards to what someone lifts is a world of difference. Like you're talking on average probably 30 kilos, for let's say the men, and probably 20 for the women.
So again, it's a safety factor. I think it's a fairness factor as well. The weigh-ins are 2 hours prior to the day that you lift. It makes sense for the lifters. It's not always fun to make weight. I know, I've done it, but it's certainly, I think, the right approach in a sport like powerlifting.
Well, and especially in the youth division and things like that with youth, and even some of the people that are lifting here today in the junior and sub-junior, you don't want to be stressing that this is the most important, that you make weight. Go and have some fun, learn the sport, and then worry about that kind of stuff a little further on.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. We're back to platform 1 and 2. Nicola has got her third and final attempt at 85 kilos. It looks pretty solid up and down.
That looked like an opener.
I think she had more. I think she had more in the tank on that one. And on platform 2, we have Zachary with his third attempt at 172.5 kilos. And he is currently fourth in the 120-plus kilo class. We have that's a number. I mean, the fact that we have 4 or 5 120-plus juniors is a good sign. Typically, that's a weight class that doesn't have a lot of lifters.
Yeah, and again, I think too, we see people that may have came from other sports as well, where we, you start to see some of these bigger weight classes being filled. You've got the prototypical football player, the lineman, and that's where you might see some of these kids come in. Sorry to interrupt there. I got a young kid I coach, and had some trouble with concussions in other sports and things like that, and that's powerlifting again is a good substitute, because generally speaking, if you do things right, you're not going to further that particular concussion protocol to put yourself in danger.
What people don't realize is it's a very safe sport if you do it properly. If you do it properly and you get good coaching and you're following and you're not trying crazy things, it's a very safe sport. And again, concussions are typically never an issue. I won't say ever, but typically not an issue. Yep. You have individuals like you mentioned, football players. I know wrestlers that have come over.
Exactly.
I know a number of people that their competitive careers in another sport have ended at age 18, 19, 20, 21 as a junior or as in their early 20s. And I've seen a lot of individuals want to stay in a competitive sport. They're looking for that competition, and they've gravitated towards powerlifting.
Yeah, exactly. And again, you get that possibility. Gee, I may be able to make an international team, and the popularity grows because of that. And you know, and sometimes, you know, when you look at the popular sports, let's say your hockeys or your basketball or whatever the case might be, that are popular in the country, well, you know, those levels you can only do it so long, and then you end up, you know, you play in a house league, or you know, you may play a little senior hockey. But if you're playing senior hockey, let's say in my case in Newfoundland Labrador, you know, you're probably not going to the NHL past that, right? You know, and one of the reasons why I made the decision to just be a powerlifter, because like, I can get to go to an international event every other year, or whatever the case might be. That was pretty intriguing.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's an opportunity there that individuals see when, for me, you know, when I was really young, it was hockey. And as I got older, it was other sports. But now, as someone who, well into my 50s, took a look and said, wow, powerlifting is something I can do. It's competitive. I like competitive sports.
Yep.
It's something I can do as I get older. It's certainly a lifestyle that keeps you healthy if you do it the right way. And so it's a real opportunity, and I think you're going to see more and more of that kind of 18 to 25 age group gravitate towards powerlifting. It's a real opportunity for the sport.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And you know, and also too, you see families now. That's another thing that I'm starting to see, that there's maybe a dozen or so families that have 3+ people in their family that are lifting. So, you know, that becomes a thing as well. And then you got your own home gym now, and you go to competitions together, and so, you know, there's that as well.
Yeah. All right, we're watching Max on platform 2. His third attempt at 195 kilos. He's currently in second place in the 120+ junior weight class. And again, there's that sticking point about 6 to 8 inches off the chest that you mentioned.
Exactly, yeah.
Yep. And that's that transfer of power from the chest to the shoulders and triceps.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, we are done our first flight on platform 2 as far as bench press. We'll have first attempts on platform 2 in just a moment. And we are about to start, I believe, first attempts on platform 1 for... No, we're still on bench press for platform 1.
Yes.
And we'll just... not quite ready to start bench on platform 2. Second flight, first attempts. So
yes.
We'll see what the delay is here. We have a bit of a delay on the platforms.
Is that a break between sessions, maybe?
Might be a break between flights. Okay, yep. Looks like we have our break on platform 1 between flights.
And normally they run one to the other, but someone's coming out with looks like some type of scoring, so there must be some kind of technical.
That's what I'm thinking, is there's a longer delay due to some reason. So they're almost ready to get started again here.
Yeah.
4 minutes on the clock, 3-minute timer, and then a minute to lift.
We are down to 2 minutes on platform 1 before we start again.
Oh, I believe I know what happened. I think there may have been a mistake with the last lifter, and she's getting 4 minutes to come out to attempt that again.
So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So sometimes, and we saw this morning, you were actually spotting. There was confusion about the lifter in terms of when he was supposed to come out in the order, and so he was given an opportunity to come back and lift again on deadlifts.
Yeah, so what had happened there is one a lifter was unsuccessful by the referees, but a couple of lifts had happened, and then the referees overturned the lift, which made the opportunity for another lifter to pull ahead of him wasn't there. And when they realized what had happened, the overturn actually created a little bit of a dilemma. And so anyway, they give him the opportunity to come out again, because he would have had that opportunity to put in had the call been right in the first place.
So with delay in the call, the jury overturned, the lifter wanted to put in a higher total deadlift, third attempt.
Yes.
If he had known that it had been overturned, he didn't know that at the time, and so then the coach came back and said, wait a minute, we deserve an opportunity to try a higher deadlift.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think it meant I thought they said maybe possibly move up 2 places. So it was really close in that mix, yeah.
Very important. We are lifting on platform 2. Our bench presses, our second flight. Claude is on his first attempt. It's not clear what the attempt is, but it does look like 120 kilos. And it went up and down pretty quickly. Now, that might be an elbow infraction on the side?
There was a red light, and it's yes, so it would be, yeah.
All right.
So it's a red card, but a red as well, so.
And on platform fun, we have Sophie. We are 10 seconds away from starting on platform 1. Sophie's going to do her third bench press, and this is the individual that's getting the
I think she's getting real. I think that's what had happened.
she's getting a chance to do a third attempt.
Yes.
And that was due to some confusion that occurred earlier.
I think maybe the spotter may have grabbed a little early, maybe never given her an opportunity to finish the lift.
Gotcha. All right, let's see. Let's hope Sophie can make this third attempt. At 90 kilos, this would keep her in second place in the 84 kilo junior class. Meanwhile, on platform 2, we have Alexander attempting 125 kilos for his opener in the 83 kilo junior male class. Sophie is about to set up.
Let's see, hopefully she can come back at this.
And as we watch Sophie, we'll watch to make sure she. No, she's decided.
It's hard. It's really hard when you fail a bench. It is hard to come back and make it. Yeah.
And that's what we can talk a little bit about that a little bit later. I want to talk about. She had her ponytail down, and the refs will often ask lifters, whether it's male or female, hair can be in the way of determining whether or not the head comes off the bench.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's why the ponytail is straight back. It generally has to be to the top of your head, so the referees can get a clear view.
All right. So now let's go back to the other issue. Was she got a chance to do a third attempt again? The problem is you go back and mentally it's a reset, but also physically there's kind of a change too, isn't there?
Well, I mean, she pushed on the weight initially there for maybe 6 or 7 seconds, and for whatever reason it was that it got tied up there. It's draining. It's draining to miss a lift. Sometimes if you miss a squat on depth, that doesn't drain you. But if you miss a lift that you stalled and for whatever reason you pushed on it for a little while, that's really it's hard. It's really hard to come back in an equipped environment. You can make a few adjustments to the shirt and you might be able to come back and get a lift like that.
And so when we talk about these lifters and kind of peaking towards a meet in terms of strength, we're also talking about peaking in terms of central nervous system.
Yes.
Because it's a taxing on the central nervous system to do these kind of days.
Exactly, and your body's programmed to go out there and make 3 attempts, and now you got a fourth or a fifth. Let's say something happens now in her deadlift, and same thing were to happen. Your body is not generally programmed to do an extra 2 lifts, let's say, in a week.
And of course, as you pointed out, depending on the number of lifters in the flight, you start to get into a rhythm of when you're going to lift, every 15 minutes, every 25 minutes, etc.
Exactly. So you get that bigger break where she had several minutes there. I think they put on the clock when it was all said and done.
Extremely difficult to come back from that. All right. We are on platform 1 with Stephanie on her first attempt, and we are with platform 2 with Emmanuel, his first attempt. His is at 135 kilos. Stephanie will be at 57.5 kilos. Again, number of lifters in both these weight classes. We have 8 lifters in the 76 kilo female class, another big class. So just really good to see the numbers in terms of these junior lifters and the weight classes.
Yeah, and there was a time I can remember back if we had 10 ladies in the contest, that was big, and now we get 10 in a aged weight division. Yeah, it's amazing. It's great to see.
It's great to see. We have a number of people have walked in. It's gotten a little bit bigger. The crowd has gotten bigger. We're later into the afternoon now. And we have Stephanie still setting up on platform 1. And we have Matthew completing his lift on platform 2.
Strong.
A successful lift. And Stephanie is setting up on platform 1. She's waiting for the start command. And she's grinding that one out.
Looks all right. What did the referee say on the mark?
And it's a successful lift. Now, when you watch bench pressers, or bench press by any lifter, people that aren't familiar with the sport will watch that and say, well, one arm was way behind the other. How come that's allowed? And the key is that it's not stopping or going backwards.
Exactly. The bar wholly, and when I say wholly, the whole bar has to go down. So it can stall on one side and you keep it moving, and as long as it keeps it going in an upward trajectory, it can stop, but it can't go down.
Right. All right, Leon, platform 1, her first attempt at 60 kilos, and Lucas's first attempt is at 150 kilos. And he's currently in second place in the 83 open, or 83 junior class, excuse me. That went up pretty quickly for a first attempt, and it's successful.
Definitely had a lot of leg drive there. You can see it.
And Leah's
opener for Leah.
Yeah, Leah's looks pretty nice opener. It speaks to the good coaching that these individuals are getting, that you really want that opener to be something that you can do almost in your sleep, or what I've heard the term is you can do it 3 times.
That's a good rule of thumb. You can do your opener 3 times. You can do your second 2 times, and your heaviest once.
All right, because then. Again, we talk about successfully completing lifts. The more you can complete lifts, the closer you get to 8 out of 9, 9 out of 9. Obviously, increases your chances of a successful meet.
Yes, absolutely. It's certainly the best way to put the highest numbers on the table for yourself.
All right, we're watching Logan.
And again, Logan's ranked in first here, and a very easy bench.
First place. And that was an elbow issue.
Also elbow issue again, to one side. So we got the one, seems like the far judge is calling that a little bit. Let's see, we keep a watch on it, because again, we're getting into this where it could be the difference of winning and losing. If you lose a 5 or 10 kilo jump here on elbow depth, that can be problematic going down to the last deadlift.
Well, especially since, as you pointed out, we have 10 lifters in that one weight class in the male junior 83s. That's going to be very competitive numbers as we get to the second and third deadlift.
Yeah, and I believe after the first squat, Logan needed his last squat to pull in first place, so it's tight. It's one of those tight, where it's not going to be a gimme.
All right, we have Danny on platform 2. 177.5 kilo opener for an 83 junior.
It's a big bench.
That is a big bench press opener. And we have Melody on platform 1. She's currently in second place in the 84 plus juniors with a successful lift.
Just something again. He got a big arch. Now let's see if the elbow depth comes into play here. It looks good to me from this position. Let's see. He got 2. So,
and I wondered
so again, it's very close.
I wondered about that. It looked like it was right on the line.
Exactly. So and they're closer than we are to it. And it was one of those that I thought it might be looked at, but let's see when he comes back. Now again, he can adjust that. He can move his hands a little bit closer, or shorten up the arch a little bit. And let's see if he can come back and make that.
Another big opener for one of the 83s. This will keep him in third place. This is Tony Swan with a 180 opener. And Isabella successful on platform 1 in her first bench press attempt at 72.5 kilos. And that keeps her in third place in the 76.
This is just short of 400 pounds, 83 junior. So that's a really big
wide grip for an 83.
Ready on 1.
Again, let's see. And again, it's one of those that now he also got a 2. So the blue card, so that means his elbow didn't lock out fully, and he got a red light turned the other side for elbow depth.
So elbow depth has been an issue for some of the male junior lifters on the second flight here. We have second attempts now on platform 2 for the male juniors. We're still on first attempts on platform 1 for the female juniors. Eleanor is going to be attempting 82.5 kilos on platform 1.
Eleanor Kelly.
Jack is walking up on platform 2 for his second attempt, second bench press at 120 kilos. And another very wide grip.
Yeah, so I think we may have had 4 or 5 that had at least one red light for the elbow depth.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's almost become a trend here that a number of these lifters are hitting that elbow issue. Gotta believe that's not going to be the issue here if there's any problem. And that's 3 wides for Jack. A successful lift. Yep. And Eleanor, we're just waiting for her to set up. And she's attempting, as I pointed out, 82.5. That went up and down very quickly.
Very good look.
And a good lift for Eleanor.
she's in first place.
Yep, first place in her weight class. With the change in the elbow depth issue, there was also another change, and I don't remember how many years ago it was, but I know it's recent, about not being able to place your feet on the bench in order to set up.
Yeah, so all those rules came into play at the same time. I'm not sure why they happened that way. And I was a person who actually set up with my feet on the bench, and I didn't find it any different. But I think it was a means of trying to limit the arch. I think they felt if someone was able to put their feet up on the bench, they're able to dig their shoulders in a little more and hold that arch a little higher. We got another lifter as well.
Yeah.
So we got a couple of lifters that may be in trouble in this. They might be two down.
Deontay is on platform 1, 80 kilos, a little bit of a grind, but it looks good. And an elbow issue on the one side. Wow.
It's becoming a popular theme here.
It's becoming a popular theme for our junior lifters in session 5 here on the bench press. All right, we have shown it on second attempt, 135 kilos on platform 2. He's currently
in first.
Currently in 9th place. He does need to hit this one, or his third. We have Elizabeth on platform 1. She's currently in 4th place in the 76 female juniors. This is her first attempt, starting out at 87.5 kilos. And successfully up and down for showing it, but and that's 3 whites for showing it. So again, the elbows are below the middle of the shoulder, but it really has to be clear. I mean, obviously, if one side is off and the other, it's almost as if one side is good, but the other one's not quite as good.
Yeah,
it seems to be getting called.
Yeah, and that's the way it's meant to happen. But again, sometimes it's just the view from a particular referee.
Right.
So it might be, if I'm sitting a little closer to it, I might be able to see it. If I'm looking across over the person's body, it might not be as easy to see on especially if it's one side,
exactly,
not the other.
and they're closer than anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, platform 1, we have Laura with her opener at 102.5 kilos, and Alexander also needs a bench press. He's attempting 125 again for his second attempt. And he drops that one down and successfully up, and 3 whites for him.
That's good.
So he is in now as well with a successful bench press. We're waiting on Laura's attempt.
And something like an elbow depth call like this could change the whole landscape of it, because you could have someone that might be sitting in 4th or 5th place, and all of a sudden now they move up to 2nd if a couple of people were not to be successful with a bench. So, not that I want to see that. I certainly want to see the stronger people, get the right what they deserve to get. But certainly, let's hope that they can turn this around now and make their lifts.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about that. If you're not successful in that first bench press because it's an elbow depth issue, a lot of lifters will attempt the same weight again to make sure they nail that, so they have one attempt that's good.
Exactly.
That's going to then drop their total.
Yeah, exactly.
No lift for Emmanuel.
And we have
I think that was an up and down. I think it was up and down or a bobble of some kind.
Come on!
All right, on platform 1 we have Liet. She's currently in 4th place. This is her second attempt. It certainly can change up our placings as we head into the deadlift.
That's better!
I remember back a while ago, somewhere probably around 2005, we were having a battle in Canada of who was going to hit the 800 mark in squats first. And lo and behold, when it came down to it, 3 or 4 of the big name athletes had missed a squat, and so we had one person who was kind of going to be a clear winner. He come out and bombed in the bench, and the guy that was sitting in 5th come away at the national championship, and he didn't hit the qualifier that he needed to be at the championship.
Oh,
so
wow.
that's again, that's how things can change when you got people that are shooting for something they should be thinking about winning and not about all these little nuanced things that really didn't mean anything in the big scheme of things.
All right, our last couple of lifters on platform 2 have been successful.
Benches are good.
And we have Stephanie on platform 1 attempting her second attempt, and we'll see how she does. Currently in 7th in the 76 kilo class. Matthew's up with his second attempt. He needs a successful bench as well. His first one was a miss, and he's attempting 145. He did choose to go up on his second attempt.
Oh, that's stalled there.
Stalled halfway up. So Matthew will need to make a third attempt in order to continue. Stephanie is grinding out a second attempt, and not quite.
Not going to be there.
And you talked about that, about how something like that, an attempt where you spend a significant amount of time trying to grind out a second bench or a second squat, can really tax an individual later on.
Exactly. Those are ones that are really hard to come back from, unless it was something within your setup or an adjustment. Like if you had a foot that slid a little bit and might have threw you off, that can be problematic, something you might be able to adjust to. But let's hope she can come back and get that one.
We have another lifter on platform 2 that needs to hit a successful bench. This is his second attempt, Lucas. He did go up 7.5 kilos for his second attempt, but he does need to make this or his third. We'll see how he does. He's a very wide grip.
And again, it looks like he's in on the left side, but the right is questionable.
No,
he got all three.
This time he got all three. So
he's good.
Successful lift
he's
for Lucas.
In the meet.
Yep. We have Kaylee completing her second attempt successfully. Logan is setting up for his second at 157.5 kilos. He's going up 5 kilos as well. So it seems like a lot of these lifters and their coaches are not so concerned about the strength. They feel if they correct the elbow issue, it's not going to be an issue.
Yeah, and this could be certainly, maybe he was planning to go a 12 kilo jump now, but now you're not going to take that chance to go 12 or 10 or whatever the case might be. You're going to take a smaller jump. So let's see. Let's hope we can put this back on the board.
So both platforms are. Leah's about to start her attempt. It looks good, and then we have Logan. Logan is a little crooked in that attempt.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if he gets called on the ones. No.
He's in there now. Yeah.
So he's got 3 whites as well. Both lifters are successful. 3 white lights. Then we move on to Danny, who needs this for a successful bench. He's trying 177.5 again on platform 2. And we have Melody with her second attempt at 70 kilos. She needs this as well, and she missed her first at 67.5. So both of these lifters need a bench press to continue. These are their second attempts. And this is a significant bench press for an 83 junior. Melody is appears to be good. I mean, that moved up and down pretty comfortably for her.
And I don't see the lights.
We might be back to cards briefly here. It looks like we're back to cards.
And 3 white lights.
And 3, okay, there we're back to lights. 3 whites on platform 1. We're waiting for Danny to go on platform 2.
Let's see, Danny.
177.5 away.
To me, that looks okay. Let's see what the judges say.
Boy, 3 whites.
3 white lights.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are having some fun on platform 2. It's not fun for the lifters, but I'm sure it's exciting for the people out in the audience. Unless you're a family member, there is some real challenging benches here as people are having elbow issues. Second attempts have been much better overall.
Yes.
The female junior lifters on platform 1 have been much more successful in terms of completion rate. There have been a few failed attempts, but not really that many. Platform 2 has gotten better as we've gotten into second attempts. And we have another attempt by Sung Zwan. He's attempting 180 again.
That looked okay to me as well. He's moving the weight really fast.
And
he's
again,
got called again.
He did not get the
it appears to me the one elbow is always higher than the other.
Yeah. We have his coaches going to the jury
to try and overturn that one. It was a 2-1.
Let's see. No, it looks like they're not going to change it.
They're not going to change.
It looks like he is going away pretty disappointed.
Yeah, they're going to have to figure out something for that third attempt.
Yeah, and the weight is flying.
He's moving the weight. That's not the issue.
Isabella.
All right, we have Isabella on platform 1 for her second attempt at 77.5 kilos. She's third currently in the 76 kilo junior class. That moved pretty comfortably for a second attempt.
Yeah, it looks good.
And 3 whites for her. And we're waiting on Jack. We are now into third attempts on platform 2. And we will be into third attempts on platform 1 probably after, I think we have 2 or 3 more lifters. So we are moving right along again. One of the things we talk about when we talk about meets is meets can often get bogged down and drag out for hours and hours, depending on various different things. It could be logistics, it could be technology, it could be just that the lifter flights are really long. But kudos to our organizers here. It's running without a hitch. We're pretty much on time with our flights and our sessions, and that's really something that you don't always see at meets.
Yeah, no, you can do events, and I remember we were running a provincial event one time, and the way it was set up is that the opening in the curtain was over near the edge of the gym, and they had to walk up 8 to 10 seconds. And we fell behind, and I said, just open up the curtains right next to the platform. So they walk out on the platform, and we're able to salvage the meet and get it back on time. And just something as small as that, you save 10 seconds every lift. Well, that adds up after 3 or 4 hours.
That's significant additional time if you're doing that every single lifter. Yeah, so no, this has gone really well. We're on session 2. We have an evening session this evening. We are halfway through our session. We're on our first flights of our bench press. We'll have second flights coming up soon, and then we'll have deadlifts. But we are moving along here. We are now third bench press attempts on platform 2, and we are nearing the end of second bench press attempts on platform 1. Eleanor is attempting 90 kilos for her second, and that she's currently in 6th. She does need this. She missed her first, and Claude is attempting a third at 130.
Made 120, only made his opener.
Yeah, so he's successful on his opener, so he has a good bench. He can move forward. Certainly probably not happy with missing his last 2 attempts. Eleanor on platform 1, that looks like a good second attempt. She has 3 white lights. And we have Alexander with his final bench press at 140 kilos. I believe, I can't quite tell there. Did he miss both?
No, made both.
Made the second one, yeah. All right, so he's good.
And in keeping with events running on time and running smoothly as well, a lot is to be said for spotters and loaders and how fast they work. The goal of the events is to keep every lift under a minute, and I think a couple of times today we were looking at our speed, and we're keeping closer to 50 seconds than 60, which again speeds up the meet if anything.
Yeah, I know a lot of credit to the spotters and loaders today and yesterday as well. They're doing a wonderful job making sure this is moving along. And people don't realize, and you'll know this because you've done this countless times, is you can catch your fingers on those weights and those collars and the bar, and you have to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing, it actually really dries out your hands and things like that. And it's just your hands don't feel like they got any grip anymore.
Which is not a good thing.
You're taking all the ridges off your hands.
Yeah. You definitely don't want to drop plates when you're loading. So no, it's a real challenge, and a lot of credit goes to those individuals who are willing to do this, because they're up there for 5 hours lifting weights.
Exactly, and you look at a bench and you're lifting the weight at pretty much your waist level, but when you got squats and deadlifts, you're reaching like above your shoulder level or down below your knee level, and they're much harder.
Yeah, that bending down and picking up plates or bending over to get plates for 5 hours is taxing.
Exactly, yeah.
So, all right, we're watching Laura on platform 1, her second attempt at 106.5. That puts her in first place in the 76 juniors.
And that'll be a national record, 106.5.
National record. National record for Laura. On platform 2, we have Emmanuel with his third and final attempt at 142.5 kilos.
Spence, did you get that?
And we're waiting on Leah on platform 1. She'll be attempting 50 kilos for, now we have third attempts on platform 1
now
as well.
Leah hasn't made either of her first 2 benches, so she needs this one to stay alive.
Yeah.
Let's hope she can find a way to make this work.
Today's International Women's Day. All right, way to go, ladies.
Not quite sure what the delay is on platform
And Emmanuel,
1.
Missed the second two, but they made the first. They're still in the contest.
Yep.
So let's see how Leah does.
Leah is out now to attempt her third. She needs this to continue.
Leah on 1.
Come on, Leah. Let's go.
On platform 2, while we're waiting for Leah, Matthew is setting up for his third attempt.
Oh, Leah is getting called for her left elbow was not straight.
All right. So she's trying to set herself up again.
Sometimes a little trick for that. If I'm coaching her, I'm telling her just to turn her elbow in a little bit. It gives the reception that your elbow is straight. No. I don't think so. Sad to say. So,
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, she's not happy, and of course she's going to be upset.
That's unfortunate. So on platform 2, we have Christopher attempting his third at 150 kilos. We have Stephanie coming up on platform 1, attempting her third at 60 kilos.
Platform 2.
She missed her second at 60 and repeating it.
She's repeating her second attempt. All right. When we watch Christopher lift, you notice as he's putting his back down, he's got a ton of chalk on his back. Explain why we do that.
Again, that's to make sure you set your shoulders in and dig in so that when you push the bar, your shoulders don't come out of place.
No, not quite.
Not
So
today.
it helps that stickiness
You stick to the bench
pad,
a little
to
bit.
the bench
Yes.
pad, yeah. Yeah, especially those individuals that are arching a lot.
The bigger
you're trying
arch.
you're trying to dig your shoulder blades in.
Yeah, if you're just lying on the bench flat, you don't need that. But yeah, for the bigger arch, definitely.
All right, Stephanie on platform 1 with her third attempt. And she is attempting, I believe, 60 again.
Yeah, not today. So she has 57.
She has one successful attempt, yes. She's good to go. And we have Lucas coming out for his third attempt at 160 kilos.
And also, too, sometimes you'll see in the bench, you'll see someone like really smoke their opener and then might only jump 2.5. But a lot of times that's a big percentage for that particular lift. So you got to look at that as all relevant.
So yeah, we talk about jumps in terms of first, second, and third attempts, and you know, when you watch some of the very small lifters, usually on the female side, but not always, a 2.5 kilo jump can be a huge jump. Whereas you're talking about 120 male lifter, 10 kilos might be an average or small jump for that person.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, if you're let's say you're opening with 50 kilos and you jump 2.5, well, you're talking 5%.
5%.
If I jump 5%, you know that becomes a possibly much bigger number, right? And it's relative. It's definitely relative.
We have another lifter with one elbow issue, but he did get 2 on lights, which is a successful lift on platform 2. We're waiting for Kaylee on platform 1. This is her third. She has, I think, 2 successful lifts in. She's gone up 2.5 kilos again.
The bar is ready.
Oh, that is good up and down. The butt might have come up.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, it just looked like she did kick her hips, so it looked like her whole
Come on, Logan.
her whole front moved up. Yeah.
So now we've got Logan with his third and final attempt at 162.5.
Comes again.
Let's see how Logan do with his third. Not sure that one elbow went all the way down. That's the issue.
Let's see. Yeah. and yeah. So it's that close.
Successful lift. He did get called for his elbow on the one side, but the other side and the front judge saw it as a successful lift.
I do see the jury is having a discussion, and I'm not sure if it's to maybe take a look at that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we might even have a coach is asking for a ruling on that, and a different coach. Let's see if anything happens here.
While we wait for whether or not that's going to be overturned, platform 2, we have Tim Swan, whose third attempt is at 180 kilos. And we have Melody on platform 1, her third attempt at 75 kilos. So it's still a discussion at the judges' table. we're not sure what's going to happen in terms of that decision. Meanwhile, Melody has been called to the platform. She's ready for her third. And Tung Swan is ready for his third.
Needs this one to stay in the meet.
He does need this one. Both times it's been an elbow issue.
Yeah, weight hasn't been an issue. It's moving
the weight has moved nicely, but yeah, he's got to get that elbow below the shoulder. And he's self-unracking, which is odd at that kind of weight.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not sure he's deep enough on those.
And especially on that right side.
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness. No, he's not.
His butt came up on that one.
Yeah.
The two yellows.
I think he beat the press command.
Oh, maybe that's what they beat the command.
Wow. But the elbows were also an issue in that too. So.
And they may have just chosen to press command as.
Yeah.
That's something.
That's unfortunate because he's definitely moving the weight.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of potential in terms of that going up in weight, but he's got to figure out how to get a little deeper.
Yeah, he got to go back and sort that out in his training and come back next time stronger.
Yeah. We have Danny on platform 2, his third attempt at 182.5 kilos, just over 400 pounds. Over Ariana on platform 1, grinding it out for her third attempt at 75 and a successful lift.
Danny missed one and come back and made it on his second, so let's see.
Yeah. And we have Isabella coming up on platform 1 at 82.5 kilos for her third and final attempt. We'll see another unrack for a 400-pound bench.
That looked fine to me.
It looked good to me.
And three whites.
There you go, 3 whites. Got to be happy with that.
This is good. Platform 2.
And we have Isabella on platform 1. Isabella is currently in third place in the 76 junior category.
Big fight, but
that's sticking point in the middle again. Sticking point in the middle for her. Carson, we are moving on platform 2. Our bench is done. We'll be setting up for deadlift. They'll be coming back with deadlift in about 10 minutes.
Then Eleanor.
And we are setting up for deadlift on platform 1. Very, very soon we have, I think, 2 more attempts. We are almost in sync here, which is, again, credit to the loaders and spotters and just the way the timing of the meet has gone. We have Deontay with her third attempt at 90 kilos. She's currently first in the 84-plus female junior category.
Had a big squat of 190. And not too shabby bench either.
No, that's a good bench. She's set.
A little too much today.
No, too much. And we have Eleanor. I think Eleanor's our last or second last bench press on platform 1, 92.5 kilos. She's currently 6th in the 76 kilo category. And that's just slightly over 200 pounds. We can focus now on platform 1, platform 2. We're 7 or 8 minutes out from our deadlifts. And we're waiting on Eleanor on platform 1. Let's talk a little bit about when you see, now that we have this view, we can see both of our side judges. For squats, but we won't, but also, particularly for bench, you see the refs will often lean over. What are they looking for when they're leaning over?
They're looking for a better vantage point. And sometimes it could be just making sure that they're keeping their butt secure on the bench. And you see it too as they push off their chest, and that's where the biggest opportunity is for the butt to come off the bench, and so they're watching a little bit closer at that point in time.
All right. We have Elizabeth. That was a good lift. We have Elizabeth coming up next. Her third and final attempt at 95 kilos. She's 4th currently in the 76 kilo class.
Bars loaded for Elizabeth.
Elizabeth is about to attempt her third.
A little different angle
This
here.
is a provincial record for Elizabeth.
Provincial record for Elizabeth. for Alberta.
That's the thing, we don't necessarily get every provincial record announced here because we do have the announcers going from platform to platform, and might not get that information. But it's good here that Elizabeth's getting her recognition as a provincial record holder if she can make this lift. And it looks like she's got it moving well.
I think that's a perfectly chosen bird.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, and again, her butt must have come up.
We had a butt issue. Laura's our last lifter on this platform. 1 third attempt is 108.5 kilos, 239 pounds. She's currently in first place in our 76 kilo class, and we'll be taking a short break after Laura's final attempt before we move on to deadlifts.
And obviously this is a national record because we have a variation of score that's not in a 2.5 increment. And I think she set the national record on her second attempt as well. Looks like 106.5.
So she might be chipping this by either 1.5 kilo, right?
Yes. And sometimes athletes will when you beat it, someone might say, well, why didn't you go 107.5? Because this half kilo actually counts towards their final score, and that could be the difference of having to pull 2.5 kilos less for the win. So that's sometimes why athletes will do that.
And Laura has come here all the way from Nova Scotia for this meet. So
that's a good fight.
It's a grind. She did get it up all the way. We'll have to see whether or not that's successful. Oh, and yes, 2 white lights.
Off her chest. I didn't think she was going to make that, but she fought through.
National record. All right, we will go to a short break before we come back for deadlifts. We are back
Careful, Carson.
at the 2024 Western Canadian Powerlifting Championships, Canadian Powerlifting Union,
Yeah.
presented by SBD is our major sponsor. We also have Olympia, Inner Strength Products, and Visit Moose Jaw as main co-sponsors. We are deeply appreciative for all of the support that we get from them for this event. One of, if not the biggest regional powerlifting event in recent memory, with over 400 lifters. We are just about to start deadlifts on platform 2. We have our male junior lifters, and Unwheel is going to be opening our deadlift session with an opener of 195 kilos. He is currently in 12th place in the 83 junior open class, and we are just about to get underway. So Jeff, we talk about deadlifts. There's really only the one command from the referee, and talk a little bit about talcum powder or baby powder as opposed to chalk. We know chalk's used for grip. A lot of lifters will use the talc or the baby powder. To what effect?
It helps the bar slide up the legs a little easier. You think about it in regards to friction, the baby powder will lessen the friction.
So as a lifter, you want the bar to stay as close to your body as possible on the way up, straightest bar path possible. So there will be obviously some sliding up the thighs. The slicker that is, the better.
Yeah.
But you do not or cannot allow what's called hitching. Explain what hitching is then.
So hitching is basically the bar is bouncing around. Almost looks like you're jittery, I guess, is the best way to describe it. Some people will also throw their knees under the bar, which is supporting, and that's probably the two biggest calls in the deadlift.
And that's something that is allowed in a strongman event, for example, but not in powerlifting.
Exactly. You will see in some strongman events they ratchet it up. They kind of stop and start and stop and start, and but that's not allowed in powerlifting. It has to be one smooth movement.
All right, we have 2 successful deadlifts so far. We're on our third individual, Zachary's opener at 212.5 kilos. Currently in 12th place. As we mentioned, we have large weight classes. We have 14 lifters in our 83 junior class. And again, significant competition. We're going to be some interesting moving of placements as we get into our second and third deadlifts. Openers probably not so much, but certainly by the second deadlift, we'll see some of those placements jumping up and down.
Yeah, and the thing is with the deadlift too, you'll see people that will try to just stay ahead of whoever their competition is. So you might see someone that might change things up in regards to strategy just so they get the pull after their competition.
And as we talk about deadlifts, third deadlifts, we see a lot of changes, but there's actually a rule in IPF powerlifting that you can make changes to the third lift twice, correct?
Yes, it's 2 changes, and once you do that, then whatever your number is, it is. You might see someone who might do a second attempt and put in a number that might look like it's astronomical, but that's so they always get to have the last pull. Sometimes that's a strategy coaches use. I've seen it. I've used it myself in certain international events. Sometimes it's waiting someone out to make for them to make the first move.
Reset the clock on one.
All right, so that again it comes down to coaching. You definitely have to have a coach if you're doing that. It's very difficult to do as a lifter. You want to have a coach. You want to have a coach who's on top of those numbers and those attempts.
Yeah, and often you'll see a coach will sit by the desk and will have an attempt ready to go, and as soon as the lifter either makes it or don't make it, the coach is there ready to put in the attempt.
All right, we have Zachary on platform 2. First attempt, very wide lift, or wide grip, excuse me, and he's successful at 247 kilos, 47.5 kilos. We are just about to start our deadlifts on platform 1. Shakina Grace will be our opening deadlifter in the 69 junior class. Her first deadlift will be at 125 kilos. We're just waiting on that, and they should be calling her out any second. Meanwhile, on platform 2, we've got Jasper with his opener at 262.5 kilos. He's currently second in the 120 open class. I don't believe we have a lot of lifters in that class, so I'm not sure where his placing is, but definitely in second place, maybe making an attempt, a second attempt or third attempt that would be strategy-wise to try and finish up in first.
Yeah,
We'll have to
it's
see.
pretty easy.
That looked pretty straightforward. And 3 white lights. Carson is our next lifter on platform 2. He'll be attempting 265 kilos in the 120 plus category. He's from British Columbia. He's currently in third. I think we have 4 or 5 120 plus lifters, so we should see some jockeying on deadlifting there as we move along.
Yeah, we should, and we're already up in that 265 at 584 pounds if you're looking at the pound conversion. So we'll shortly, I'm sure, be in the 600-pound mark and have a number of people pulling over that threshold.
We are looking at people that are almost pulling 600 pounds as openers. That's a lot of weight. All right, we got Carson.
Bar is ready for Shekinah.
That moved very quickly.
125 kilos.
Very comfortably for him. 3 white
Carson
lights.
Phillips will
And we
lift his
have
weight on
Shekinah
platform
Grace
2.
is now ready for her opener.
Come on, Shekinah.
Oh, maybe I might be saying that wrong. Gino's got Shekinah.
And the
I
lift
apologize
is
if I've been
3
saying that
white
wrong.
lights for
Successful
Shekinah.
lift for her on her first attempt. Ava's up next. And Max is on platform 2, opening up with 270 kilos. Again, in the 120 plus class, he's currently in second place. So there you see that our previous lifter was in third place, lifted 265. Max here in second place, lifting 270. Again, those opening attempts are very close, and then we might see some movement.
Yeah, and I know Max is, I saw him at Nationals last year. He's a good competitor, and if there's a means of him to pull for the win, I think he'll put it on the bar.
All right, we have Christina successful on platform 1 with her opener. We have Max successful on platform 2 with his opener. Nice to see the deadlifts moving along. People are making their first attempts. Dylan will be coming out attempting 290 kilos for his opener. He's currently in first place
Bar is ready
at
for
640, just shy of 640 pounds. And Christina is coming out for her first deadlift. She is 6th place in the 69 kilo class. And she has a very wide sumo approach. Let's talk a little bit about sumo versus traditional stances for our lifters.
Yeah, and again, it's going to come down to personal preference. Sometimes you think there's a body type, but then someone will come along and they'll totally dispel that myth. But again, generally speaking, the sumo lifters' flexibility is generally a factor, and stronger hips. Where you see the conventionals, usually people with the stronger backs.
Dylan made short work of that. Successful first attempt. And we have Erica on platform 1 attempting 135 kilos. She is in our 69 kilo class. Again with the sumo stance, narrow grip. And a successful first attempt, I would believe. Yes, 3 white lights. And now we have Chidaberi, who is opening with 300 kilos. He is in first place in our 120. And made short work of that, traditional stance. Very tall 120.
3 white lights, platform 2.
And that moved nicely.
And generally, that's what you see. The taller, what I would call more lean lifters, generally are the good conventional pullers.
135
Sophie on
kilos
platform
for
1,
Sophie.
her opener at 135 kilos. She's second in our 84 kilo class. She is lifting traditional. And as she lifts,
Very easy opener.
she has a mixed grip. There are a variety of different grips. Can you talk about maybe a couple of the most popular ones?
Yeah, we have a hook grip where basically you put your fingers over your thumbs and you lock your thumb in. And then you have the mixed grip, which is hands are moved in the opposite direction. More often than not, the mixed grip is what people use. I would say the hook grip is getting more popular over the last number of years, and again, it's a little more, I guess, stable in your body if you can hold on to the bar, and it's evened out on the musculature of the body.
Does one grip lend itself more to one stance?
You don't often see conventional do the hook grip. Not to say it doesn't happen, because I know a couple of lifters that do it that way. Usually again, the lifters have a little more flexibility are the ones with the sumo that use the hook grip.
Bars ready for
And
tail around
one thing I do know about the
platform.
hook grip that although I don't use it, is I know that it's extremely painful when you first start using a hook grip on your thumbs, but eventually you get used to it, but it puts a lot of pressure on the thumb to wrap that underneath the bar.
Absolutely, yeah. I've taken a stab at it a few times, and usually when I get up around that 500-pound mark, it's, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, no, I got the 405 for a double with that hook grip, and I never got any further than that because it didn't feel good. I admire those people that can do that and ignore the pain. So, all right, we are on platform 2 with Zachary, his second attempt at 220 kilos, currently in 13th place in the 83 kilo class. And we have Francesca with her first deadlift at 145 kilos. She's 4th in the 69 kilo class. And that moves very nicely.
Very nice pull.
And also for Zachary, we should have 3 white lights on both platforms. We have successful lifts so far in our deadlift across the board.
No hiccups so far.
No hiccups. It's great to see.
150 kilos bars ready on 1 for Jennifer.
We have Jennifer opening up with 150 kilos. She's 5th place in the 69 kilo class. And we have Matthias placing, currently holding 11th place in the 83 kilo class. It's one of our Quebec lifters, and his openers seconds, is at 222.5 kilos.
Yeah, it looks like Mathis is in the 83, so he's one of the ones that would have fallen outside the number of people that they have in the flight, and so he got put in the first flight.
Put in his first flight, yes. All right, Zachary is up on platform 2, his second attempt at 260. He is a 120-plus lifter, 4th place currently.
Bars ready on 2, 260 kilos.
And we have Carla at 175 kilos in 2nd place in the 69 kilo junior class. That's a big opener for a 69.
Yeah, and it might mean she might be in the mix here when it comes down to the final pull.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Zachary is setting up for his pull. He locks it out. There might have been a little bit of a hitch at the top.
Let's see what happens. Yeah, one. And sometimes with that, depending on where the referees are situated, it's easy to see that from the front.
Right. I was going to say the front ref saw that,
Yeah,
but the
just very
side refs
mild.
might not have seen it. Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly. Oh no. Oh, Carla has tweaked something.
Yeah, not sure what happened.
I'm not sure. It appears she has tweaked something setting up for her deadlift, and she has walked off the platform.
Yeah, it didn't look like she even started to pull when that happened. So
she was just setting up.
let's hope she can get that sorted and get back out there.
Hopefully we can find out what happened. Hopefully she can get back on the platform. Currently on platform 2, we have Jasper with his second attempt at 277.5. He is 2nd in our 120 weight class. And we have Ein on platform 1, pulling 177.5 in the 69 kilo weight class.
Very easy.
Very successful opener. Yes, yeah, 3 whites. Jasper is doing a mixed grip with a partial sumo stance. And
It's still setting him second.
And a good lift for him as well. So we have Carson on platform 2, Nicola on platform 1. She is currently 2nd in the 69. She's also attempting 177.5, 391 pounds for a 69 junior.
Yeah, and already has a prognosis of 435 kilo total.
That's
very easy.
Very
lift.
solid total for a 69 junior and a successful lift. Carson is attempting 280 kilos. He's 3rd in the 120 plus category. Again, those top 3 120 pluses are all very close to one another.
Yeah. He's at a 772 prognosis. Tough on the lockout, but I think that should be a good lift.
Should be okay. And 3 whites for him. Good total. Shakina Grace is her second attempt here at 135. She's looking potentially at a 305 total. Projected total of 315. And she is in 9th place in the 69 juniors. A little bit of a grind.
Let's see what the referee said. I think it's okay.
I'm a little worried about the shoulders. Nope, good lift for her. Good. 3 white lights for her. The second attempt at 290. And he is in third place currently. As you mentioned, Max is a good deadlifter. He'll do what it takes to try and move up in placement. So we might see some movement here from him, especially on his third attempt after this one.
Exactly. And I think they're tight from what I've seen here. So between 70, 75 and 800 kilos is where they're planning to finish, I think.
And there's Ava with her second attempt. It's successful.
Which is good on one.
And Max with his second.
Ooh.
Deadlift for Max on 2.
And that was a hook grip that looked like it failed him.
And that was a hook grip thing where if you don't get those hooks in, it's going to come out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if I'm coaching him at this point, I might say, hey, switch it over for the last one.
Just to get that third
Just
one?
to get it in.
All right.
So I don't think strength is a problem.
No, I definitely don't think that's been an issue for him today. We have Christina on platform 1, her second attempt at 140 kilos. She is fifth
Platform 2,
in the 69s.
pounds.
And we have Dylan,
Who's in first place?
first place from Quebec, attempting 305 kilos on platform 2. Christina's lift looks good, and it is.
3 white lights.
And Dylan just moved 305 very easily.
Yeah, it's very smooth, no question whatsoever.
That is a very good second lift.
Sophie.
All right, we are up with Sophie, who is in first place in our 84 kilo class, her second attempt at 142 and a half. And we have,
Chid.
with a projected total of 377 and a half,
320 kilos.
traditional stance. She locks it out.
Looks like a good lift.
I think that should be a good, yes it is, 3 white lights. And on platform 2, we have Tideberry with 320 for a second attempt, just over 700 pounds.
He's at a 770 prognosis.
See that? Yeah. Big total.
So him and Max are going to, and that's a hitch there, and he doesn't finish it up.
Couldn't get the lockout.
So both the 120s have had trouble with their second deadlift. Let's see if one can pull it out in the end.
That will be an interesting battle for the third deads for that 120 plus class. Here is Sophie with her second at 145. She's in second place in the 84 kilo class.
Lift is good on 1.
And Eric is up with a second attempt at 150 in the 69 kilo class. And with a projected total of 325. All right, we're back to thirds on the platform. Moving along here, we're already on our third attempts on platform 2. On wheel is going to be attempting, I believe it was 205, 207, I believe, 207 and a half. Meanwhile, Eric is on platform 1. She has a projected total of 325.
Bars ready for chatting on 2.
Let's talk a little bit about when you do sumo.
Lift is good on
Viewers
1.
would notice that it moved off the floor very slowly, and then it tends to start moving.
Yes, and that's something that you will see with sumo. And again, not the way it moves for everybody, but more so than not. And really, it's about finding the position. So the whole thing with the pull in sumo is to stay in position, and then once it starts to move, it should move very quickly.
All right, we have Anwell trying. He's currently in 12th place in the 83 kilo class with a projected total of 535. His final attempt of the day, third deadlift.
42 pounds.
And it looks like he's locked it out successfully. We'll have to wait and see. Yes, that's a successful third lift. Nice way to finish the meet. Taylor looks like her second is successful. That's great. Francesca's setting up on platform 1 at 155 kilos. She's in third place in the 69 kilo class, and Zachary is attempting a third of 227 and a half, and he is in the 83 kilo class.
Bars ready for
So
Francesca.
we see one of the spotter loaders cleaning the bar. That's particularly important during deadlifts. And
Zachary on 2.
Yeah, and usually what we will do is we'll clean it at the end of every round for the first 2 rounds, and then on the last deadlift we want to give the lifter every advantage, and we clean the bar after every attempt. And sometimes you can ask if you have, let's say, someone sumo and they use a lot of baby powder and they just went before in your conventional, like that could be where you're putting your hands. Sometimes you can request it. The referee don't have to do it, but in most cases I think they do.
All right. So, and again, that chalk can build up in the knurling.
Exactly. Yeah.
That can get in the way if you're trying to grip the bar. All right. We have Jennifer on platform 1, Zachary on platform 2. Zachary with a hook grip and a sumo stance. And he just needs to lock that out. Did the shoulders get back far enough?
Yeah. Two people agreed. Anyway.
It's a good lift, 2-1. And on Jennifer's case, she's attempting 155. She's currently in 4th place in the 69 kilo class. And once it moved, it really moved.
Exactly. Yeah. That's prototypical sumo.
And a good lift for her. Carla's up with her second attempt at 175.
Now this was she had the issue before she actually pulled the bar, so let's hope she can come out and do this.
She does need a deadlift. Hoping she can come out.
Bar's ready for the tees.
That's concerning that we don't see Carla out right now. I'm hoping that, but I'm a little concerned that there was an injury.
Yeah.
And that's so unfortunate.
And let's just hope maybe they're taking an extra little break to
try a
come
third
out.
attempt, maybe.
Yeah. And maybe giving her a little more time. Maybe they're doing some rehab back there.
That's possible, absolutely. And talk about her putting in a second attempt and then that attempt timing out as it's kind of a professional courtesy to the other lifter.
Yes, exactly. So if you're not going to go out there and you look at people are on a I guess a scheme or a schedule where they're going every let's say 12 or 13 minutes, and if you don't put in the attempt or put in a blank in that attempt, then that moves up the time, and of course that can be problematic, and it's just because you may have to wait a little bit later. I was in an event one time where we had a number of people that were going for a specific record. They all come out and did one squat, and then they passed on the rest. And I was lifting, and so basically, and this was in an equip. I would wrap my knees. I'd walk off the platform. I'd wrap my knees. I'd go back out and lift, and there was no time for anything else. So it's one of those things that at the time it wasn't very good, and I said to a couple of athletes, like, put in a number, and but anyway, I went 3 for 3 in the squat. But it was probably more because I was mad than anything.
That can do a lot with adrenaline.
yeah,
anger.
Exactly.
How often does that happen? Now, tell me, at a local regional meet versus an international meet, how often does it happen where lifters will literally try maybe for a world record or a national record in one discipline, squat or bench or deadlift, and simply do obligatory squat or bench and then go for a world-class deadlift? So they only do one of each and don't even attempt second and thirds.
Yeah, and the IPF tried to do something on the international scene because we did have those, more specifically bench press specialists that were showing up at events, and some countries get paid for, let's say, setting a world record or getting a gold medal, and so they would come out and do a token squat, token deadlift, and put a big bench.
Right.
And the IPF put some things in place, but I think they went away from it. Just didn't work, and if countries that's what they want to do, they've kind of been obligatory for it. I always say they should make it a mandatory total, and then you won't have those types of things happen.
Right. Yeah, because I have seen that in a couple of meets. They're not at high-level meets, but at some regional or local meets where people will go for a state or national record in the U.S., and they'll simply put in like literally a 50-kilo squat, a 50-kilo deadlift, and then it's like a 200-kilo bench or something like that.
Yeah.
And if they put in those second and third attempts to protect the other lifters in terms of their time to prep, that's one thing. But if they're not even giving you that professional courtesy, that's really
it's not the way I want to conduct business.
No.
Put it that way. And I've had even some of my athletes that have said, why don't I just go and do token? I said, listen, if you're going in to meet, you're trying.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, we have Shakina Grace with her third. We are on third deadlifts on platform 1. Just a little too heavy today at 140 kilos. So she finishes with a total of 335. And Ava is up on platform 1 for her third at 140 kilos. Ava is currently in 6th place in the 69 kilo class. We are waiting on Max, who is third in the 120 plus category. Max lost his grip on his second attempt. I think he's added 2.5 kilos.
Ava on 1.
Yeah, and again, you've likely got people that are just matching what he's pulling, so he's gone up an extra 2.5, which forces them to make their lifts as well if he can make this one.
He goes from bronze to silver.
So bronze to silver on this one.
Bronze to silver pull for Max.
Max can move into 2nd place with this
3
pull.
whites on 1.
Get that hook grip in nice and tight.
Yeah.
It's a grip issue again.
Yeah, and again, that's where I say, you know, I'd be throwing
Maybe
all
change
caution
it
to the
up.
wind and switch it up and hope for the best.
We have an attempt change on platform 2.
And now we're starting to see some of the changes.
Exactly.
So we have Carson, who is
Bars ready
currently in
for
2nd.
Christina on 1.
He's going to be attempting 295 kilos for his 3rd attempt. And we'll find out whether or not that's placing him into 2nd or whether it will move him higher. I don't believe it can move him higher. I think that's in order to finish in 2nd. We'll have to see. On platform 1, we have Christina. She's 3rd attempting at 145 kilos. And just can't quite lock it out at the top. And we have Sophie up next on platform 1. She'll be attempting 147.5 kilos. She's currently in 1st place in the 84 kilo class. We're waiting on Carson on platform 2.
295
So he
kilos.
settled at 295.
He did settle at 295.
Let's go, Carson.
And that puts his prognosis total at 787.5.
Yeah.
Bars ready for Sophie.
All right. We have both lifters up, ready to go. Sophie on platform 1, Carson on platform 2. Carson with a traditional stance. And that moved pretty comfortably.
Very strong off the
Can he
floor.
lock it out? We'll have to see whether
Yeah, I don't think he will get that
I'm not
lift.
sure he's going to, yeah.
Yeah.
No lid for Carson.
So was that a combination of lockout and hitching?
Yeah. It looked like both. At the end, you've seen a very distinct where we kind of kicked his legs in, and it looked like after that, then his shoulders settled, and they weren't in a locked out position.
Load the bar up to 320 kilos on
All right,
platform
Dylan.
2.
For his 3rd deadlift at 320 kilos, this will give him 1st place in the 120 plus category. We have Sophie getting ready on platform 1, attempting 152.5 kilos. This would put her in 2nd place in the 84 kilo class. So Sophie's ready. She currently has a total of 342.5. This would push her to 350 for her total.
Nice round number. I'm sure that's why she's looking at this one.
Numbers are a big thing with lifters. Oh, she locked it out.
That's good. Let's see what the referees say.
See what they say. Yes,
Yes,
3.
good
Yeah.
lift.
Nice way to finish the meet for her. Yeah, it's those numbers are psychological in terms of round numbers, like even numbers at 100, 200, 300. It's amazing how lifters think that way. All right, Dylan. Boy, that moved. It's just the lockout. If we can get the lockout, because it sure moved fast in the
See
beginning.
what happened.
Oh, wow, they're going to
Yeah.
probably contest that one.
I would think
I
the
would think
coach
they'd
is
want-
going.
Yeah, he's going over there.
His chest collapsed at the top, and I think sometimes that gives the impression that your shoulders aren't locked back.
Right. Well, the jury is discussing it.
Yeah, I don't think they're.
I don't think they're going to give it to him. All right, we have Taylor on platform 1. This is her 3rd attempt at 160 kilos, and it went up quickly, but can she lock it out? Oh. I think
Oh,
no. Not. She just couldn't lock it out at the top.
320 kilos. Bars loaded
Very,
on
very
platform
gracious
2.
in the way she handled that. So, and now we have Chinaberry, his 3rd deadlift. He's 1st place in the 120 open or junior class, 320 kilos. His 2nd attempt at 705. Let's see if he can get it this time. Not this time.
Not today.
I think there's too much energy expended on the second one.
Yeah, and again, those missed lifts, they're very grueling on the body.
So a good meet for him. He did have a good first opener, and I think he remains in first place with that opener deadlift. Jennifer's on platform 2, her third attempt at 160 kilos. She's in fourth place in our 69 kilo class and would finish with a successful lift with a 362.5 total.
Bars ready.
Setting up her sumo stance.
Kilos. Up next is Christoph.
And she uses a hook grip as well.
As well, yeah.
Yep.
And again, slow off the floor. Oh!
Oh, she was almost there. Give her a big round.
Just about finished it.
and that's my question regarding hook grip. And one, it's painful. You have to learn to accommodate the pain. But two, if there's any slip at all, it's gone. There's not saving it like you could in a mixed grip potentially.
Yeah. It is one of those things that once it starts to open up, it's you better hope it's locked out, long enough for the referee to say down.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, a mixed grip. I also feel like it saves your arms a little bit too, in terms of just it gives. And I've seen people mix their grip literally in the middle of a meet. They'll go underhand, overhand, then flip it. Now I haven't seen that very often, but I have seen it, and the person that did it told me they were saving their bicep. They weren't trying to wear out the one side,
right?
Which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
But it's a safer grip in terms of hanging onto the bar.
Yeah, I would think so. Yes.
All right, Erica with her final lift at 162.5 kilos. And Christoph looks like a successful first lift. We have started our second flight on platform 2, 3 white lights for Christoph. And we are finishing up our third deadlift attempts on platform 1 with the female junior lifters. Not today for Erica for the third attempt. She finishes with a 377.5 total.
Here comes Wayne.
We will have Francesca up momentarily and Danny on platform 2.
250 kilos.
We are into our first attempts on our second flight for deadlifts on platform 2. Danny is a 83 lifter, and he's currently in third place with a projected total of 665. That is 92 good lift points. That's a good number.
That's a good number, yes. Over 90, you're a fairly good lifter. He's most of his grip is on the smooth part of the bar, which is not common either.
Oh, Wayne with a double overhand hook grip sumo pull.
Very good opener for
3
Danny.
white lights.
Francesca about to attempt her third.
Francesca.
Grabbing that bar.
Bars loaded on 2.
And once she got it to move, can she lock it out? Oh.
Yeah, might have been a bit of downward on that. Let's see what the ref says.
Only the center.
Only the one.
Side.
Yeah.
Only the center.
And again,
side.
depending on their vantage point, they may not have saw that.
Yeah. Alexander with his first attempt at 250 kilos.
It's moving with speed.
Moved up and down pretty nicely. And he's currently Carla on platform 1, Jack on platform 2. Carla's
Jack
attempting 175 kilos for her third attempt as a 69 lifter.
The bar's ready for Jack.
And Jack is attempting
Come on, Jack.
255 kilos for his opener as an 83.
Let's go, Jack.
We've got the female juniors now are getting into some big numbers on their third attempts. And this is Carla. Was Carla our lifter that was injured last round?
It's one, yes it is, 175. She's missed twice. It doesn't look like she is coming out.
No, that's so unfortunate.
Yeah, because I think she was well ranked there in that.
She was doing well. Yeah, I think she was fourth before the deadlift. Jack on platform 2, first attempt at 255. Projected total of an even 600
No more changes to your openers.
kilos. Wide sumo stance right near the plates. And a mixed grip.
No more changes. Lift this flight feet. No more changes to your openers.
And that moved nicely. 3 white lights for Jack. Manuel's up next on platform 2. Carla's session is timed out on platform 1.
That's unfortunate.
That's really unfortunate. Like you pointed out, you don't want to bomb out, but probably even worse than that is not making weigh-in.
We got chips.
And of course,
Oh, no,
maybe even potentially worse than that is getting injured during a meet.
Getting injured, yeah, because this could be could take her some time before she gets back to training or anything.
All right, Emmanuel with his first attempt at 257.5. In 6th place in the 83 kilos.
It's a little tough for an opener.
Slow
Let's
but
see.
steady. And 3 whites.
3 whites.
Yeah. Now, Ian on our platform 1 is in 1st place in the 69 juniors.
This is
She is attempting well over 400 pounds for her 3rd attempt.
Yeah, 435-ish.
Is
Is this now maybe 196.5? Is that chipping a record maybe?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
196
Ian is attempting a record.
kilos. Come on, Ian.
Platform 1.
Also,
As she moved it, she just couldn't lock it out and then
Yeah.
lost her grip. So that's the place to make 3rd attempts, right? To make national record attempts, 3rd
Bars
attempts.
ready for Matthew LaRoche. Matthew Bowen spotting and loaded. Come
Yeah.
on, Matthews.
comes Matthew.
Matthew, platform 1.
260 opener.
Platform 2, excuse me, first deadlift.
260 kilos on the bar. Oh, look at him rip that up.
Snap that up.
Yeah, that
3
went
white lights.
very
Very
quickly.
easy.
Logan's up next on platform 2. We're waiting on Nicola on platform 1. Our platform crew is cleaning the bar on platform 1 for us, for our lifter. And she's currently in 2nd place, also attempting 196.5. 434 pounds. She is in 2nd place in our 69 kilo
And this
class.
is one where we had, I guess, one athlete was going for the record because she missed it. The other lifter was able to drop it down to that attempt.
Correct.
You can't go less. So
Correct.
she kind of got forced in that position. Let's see if she can make the lift.
This is the Canadian national record attempt for Nikki.
Here we have Logan.
Here we go again. So she's also attempting the Canadian record in that class.
Logan's opener was very good.
Yep. Logan's successful opener.
Come on, Nikki.
Put her total at 454.
Oh, she's got the double overhead hook grip.
Easy
boy.
work. Some in the tank, I
She
believe.
might have had more left than that.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
This is good.
Good for her. National record for Nicola on her 3rd and final attempt. And we will be moving on to flight 2, the 2nd flight on platform 1 in just a minute. Meanwhile, we are into our 2nd flight on platform 2 for the men.
Lucas
First
Steele.
deadlift for Lucas at
Platform
275 kilos, just over 600
Leah
pounds. And
Shore.
Lucas is currently in 2nd place in our 83 weight class.
Bars ready.
Again, 702 total on the prognosis.
Yeah, that
It's
moved
over that
nicely.
700 pound mark, 700 kilo mark, sorry.
And Leah is our opening lifter for our 2nd and last flight on platform 1,
Shout it.
opening at 120 kilos. She has a projected
Come on,
total of
Leah.
265,
Very
295, excuse me, 295.
120 kilos lift is good for Leah.
And Shonit is up on platform 2, Stephanie on platform 1. Our crews are, again, cleaning bars, taking care of the lifters by making sure the equipment is ready.
So everyone in this flight now is 250 kilos plus. Very big deadlifts.
Yeah, that's when everyone in the flight is over
Bars
250.
loaded. Here comes Stephanie.
That's a lot of weight. All right, this is Shonit's 2nd. He's currently in 11th place in the 83 junior class. Stephanie is currently in 8th place in the 76 kilo class. This is Stephanie's opener. Moves pretty comfortably. She locks
good.
it out,
3 wet
and it's
lights.
a good lift.
Looks all right.
And it's a good lift. There was a little bit of, I noticed his right hand, our left side, he was struggling with the grip, I think, and that's why the imbalance in the bar.
Yeah, exactly. And he might have been just on the verge of losing the grip, and that's when you pray for the quick down command.
He managed to hang on to it and get a first successful lift. Melody's opener at 135 kilos. He's currently second in the 84 plus category. And we have Christoph with his second at 250 kilos in the 83 kilo category.
Good for Melody.
Yep, good lift for Melody, and what looks like a good lift for Christoph. 3 whites as well. Yep.
Lead, come on up.
So we
Bars
have,
loaded for the lead.
when we have our third deadlift, seconds on platform 2, and we get to our thirds, we're going to again be seeing a little bit of jockeying. We're going to be seeing lifters maybe reaching in terms of 102% of what they would ever done before, even maybe more than that. What kind of psychology plays into a coach going to the lifter and saying, you need this much to win, and it's more than they've ever done before? How do you talk to a lifter?
It depends on the lifter, to be quite honest. Some lifters, you don't tell them that at all. Sometimes you just do it. And some lifters are, you let me know. This depends on the win. You let me know that because I'm going to do it, that kind of thing. So, again, it'll depend on your lifter. And if a lifter gets very nervous over knowing stuff like that, then you don't want to say anything. Just say, hey, let's just go out and, you talk about their form and their positioning, things like that. And the lifter that, got that, I want to win at all costs, that's the one you tell. And so that's the psychology that I see. And, either way, depending on the athlete, you can get to where you want to be. And, some people are motivated by different things.
Yeah, I noticed that in my case, I like to know the number. I know there are some lifters, as you point out, it's all about technique for them, so it doesn't really what's on the bar. They're either going to hit it or they're not going to hit it, and if their technique's good, they typically will do really well.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't be some outrageous number, but they'll probably go over what they thought they could have done.
Yeah.
And it's all about the technique and just nailing down that technique.
Yeah, and for myself as a lifter, I'm usually pretty close on squat and bench on where I'm going to be, and I'll give my coach a range and the deadlift.
Gotcha.
So anything less than this for the win, put it on the bar. Don't even ask me. Just put it on.
Just put it on.
Bars loaded. Here comes
And I think
Jack.
that probably comes with experience too over the years.
Yeah, for sure.
Got
Yeah.
the jewelry in the mouth.
All right, we have Elizabeth on platform 1. That's her opener, so we are now in the second flight on platform 1 as well. Good lift for Elizabeth.
Moves super fast.
We are in our final flights on both platforms. We are on our second deadlift on platform 2 with Jack attempting 270 kilos, and we are on our openers on platform 1. Deontay is going to be opening with 165 kilos.
Come on, Jack.
Jack has a mixed grip here, sumo stance. And it's the lockout that's going to be the key here.
I'm not sure he had that locked out. Let's see
He
now.
wants the grip. Give him a round of applause.
And yes,
Isabella,
platform 1's a
very
good lift.
easy lift.
Coming up next on platform 1 is Isabella.
Isabella's coming up on platform 1.
Coming up next on platform 2, we're the boys in the front row.
And Claude is on platform. We are now
Here comes Claude Alexandre Guimond.
on second attempt for
The
Claude.
Moray Chargé.
Yeah,
282.5 kilos.
Moray Chargé.
And Isabella on platform 1. And this would give her a 405 total.
Very easy.
Very nice up and down. 3 whites. And Ariana will be up next. We have Claude on platform 2. He's getting fired up. 282.5 kilos. 4th place in the 83 kilo weight class with a projected total of 675. Another lifter in the 90s for his GL points.
Yeah, 675. Definitely a good total for 83 lifters. Very fast.
Very quick. He's got something left for his third attempt for sure. We have a successful lift by Ariana on platform 1.
Yep.
Laura is up.
Laura's in first place in the
Coming up on
76s.
platform 1.
And Laura will be opening at 190 kilos,
190
over 400 pounds.
Laura on 1.
We got Logan is also sitting in first.
And we have our
Platform
first place,
2.
First place 83 on platform 2, and our first place 76 on platform 1. Looks
Very nice pull.
Yeah.
Is
Laura's successful, and Logan is successful as well with his second attempt.
3 white lights.
We are on seconds on platform 1 now. We are finishing up second attempts on platform 2. I think we have 2 or 3 lifters left. And we are getting to the point now where lifters and coaches are probably making determinations about, can I get into the top 3, or if I'm already in the top 3, can I get a first place, and determining what that final lift's going to look like.
628 pounds for Matthew.
Matthew's second looks good.
Second lift for Matthew is successful, 3 white lights. And Leah on platform 1 about to come out. And now we are on seconds on platform 1. This is our second lifter with her second attempt.
Very smooth second.
Leah's showing things up.
And Lucas has come out for his second at 290 kilos.
Just short of
He's-
640 in pounds.
He's currently in second place. He's projected to get a 717.5 total. We'll have to see if he'll pull for potentially a win on his third, depending on what other people are doing.
Lucas, 290 kilos for Lucas.
It's the lockout. I think he's got it. Maybe a little hitch at the top. Nope.
No.
3 whites. Good for
He
Lucas.
just accentuated the lockout, I think.
All right. And Stephanie with her second at 137.5.
Also looks good.
I think that's a good lift.
3 white lights for Stephanie.
And we are definitely moving along. We have all of our 83s on platform 2 on our second flight.
142.
So the placings will move around as they continue their second and third deads. And we are on third deadlifts on platform 2, third deads on platform 2. And we are on seconds on platform 1. And Melody is currently in second place. Yeah.
Yes.
Bars ready, platform 2.
347 if she makes this lift. 0.5. Well, that looks good.
Looks good.
Melody, the lift is good on platform 1.
And we have Shonit attempting his third at 257.5 kilos. And potentially a 600 total if he's successful.
In the house.
Again, hitting those milestones. I would say he come here with the hope to hit 600 kilos.
How you doing, Ryan?
And there is an opportunity.
That rounded number.
Yeah.
150 kilos.
And that, I believe, was his issue the last time, was that right hand was slipping.
Yeah.
And this time he just couldn't hold it.
couldn't hold it long here.
Yeah. No. Good attempt by him. Eleanor with her second at 150 kilos. Pretty solid up and down lifts.
Very nice, Eleanor. Very well.
Very smooth.
We have Christoph getting ready on platform 2.
Leah.
Liat on platform 1. Christoph attempting 262.5.
Bars ready.
And Liat attempting 152.5. Liat's ready to go.
Now again on platform 2, they're cleaning the bar after every attempt.
Now that we're on thirds on platform 2.
No lift.
And we have
Good
no
attempts
no
on
lifts.
both.
Yeah, no lifts on both sides. In Leah's case, she just couldn't finish those last few inches to lock out.
Elizabeth.
And we are up with Elizabeth on 1, Manuel on 2. Still on second deadlift, second attempts on 1. Elizabeth attempting 152.5 kilos.
Platform 2.
Fourth place currently in our 76 kilo weight class. And if I remember correctly, her first at 145 went up pretty quickly.
Really fast, yes.
Yes. That's a good second.
Bars ready for Emmanuel.
All right, on platform 2, Emmanuel is just about to lift. He's at 265 kilo attempt. Currently in 6th place. Projected total of 645.
It's the second. Let's see if we can come back and make it.
Bars ready for Kaylee on 1. No lift for Emmanuel.
It's amazing. Maybe people in the audience don't understand. You know, you do a first deadlift that's successful, you do a second, and maybe you grind it a bit or you miss it, but it didn't look particularly difficult. And then you see a lifter on their third, and they never even look.
You know, moving out of the groove just a little bit, like you reach down to the bar and you kick it out front a half inch off your shins, and that's the lift.
Yeah, there is a lot that goes in. A lot more technical aspects that go into this than I think people realize if you're not into the sport. All right, we have Deontay on platform 1, her second attempt at 175 kilos. This would put her in first place in the 84 kilo class. And she moved that pretty comfortably. Can she lock it out?
See what the referees say. Oh,
All right, I believe they said she had some up and down, maybe a little bit of a hitch. Give her a round of applause.
All right. Definitely the strength was there. She just needs to clean up the finish. And here we go, Jack at 272.5 for his third and final attempt. An even 600 pounds. There's that even number again. And can he lock it out?
600 pounds.
And he got it.
And now we got an uneven 617.5,
Yeah.
which I'm sure he's happier about.
He just ate his jewelry.
Ariana on platform 1, 190 kilos, over 400 pounds. And that's a good lift for her on her second attempt. And we have Alexander on platform 2. He'll be attempting 280. Isabella on platform 1 will be attempting 192.5, just over 400 pounds. We're currently in third place in the 76 kilo class. Our loaders and spotters are cleaning up the bar on platform 2 because we are on third attempts. Make sure each lifter has an equal opportunity to pull that last lift. Here we have Isabella on platform 1.
He's working.
Yeah.
I don't know if it went down.
Yeah, I'm a little worried it might have gone up and down.
It was close.
It was very close.
It'd be worth their coach going to the jury.
Yep,
to ask.
agreed. Here we go, Alex on platform 2. Once he got it moving, we'll have to see.
Should be okay.
Yes, they did it. There you go.
Third place.
Once he got it moving, it looked like it was okay. All right, Danny's up on platform 2. This is his third attempt, final attempt, 285 kilos.
Looks like he's trying to pull ahead.
It does look like he's trying to move up, yes.
In that bronze medal
In
position.
the 83 kilo class. He's trying to get third place here. It's a big pull for him. It's a 15 kilo jump from his second attempt. On platform 1, we have Laura, who will be attempting 202.5 kilos for her second. She is in first place in the 76s.
Already has a national bench record today.
Yeah.
Lifting very well. Strong young girl.
Wow.
Which is good for Laura.
It's just slow and steady.
Yeah.
Just slow and steady. So Laura has a successful second attempt at over 200 kilos. Here's Danny with his third at 285 kilos. He's trying to jump into third place here.
And his 700 total.
And again, another round number. He wants that 700 total as well. Once he got it off the ground, we'll have to see.
I don't know if he had an initial pull.
Oh, we got it.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I thought he almost pulled it off the floor and then reset and
It
pulled.
looked like it might have almost reset, but
Yeah, the referees or the jury's talking about it, I believe. But again, it's 3 white lights.
right. Can the jury overturn 3? No. They're not
They
supposed
shouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think they're having a long discussion there.
All right, Leah's on platform 1 with her 3rd attempt. We're now into 3rd attempts on platform 1. 140 kilos.
Griff is just holding on.
Good
Let's
for
see.
her.
She held on to that with her fingertips.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is good
Great
on
effort.
platform
Determination,
one.
just
Here
grinding.
comes Logan, 290 kilos.
Logan,
Platform
in order to
2.
hang on or to jump into? Let's see here. It's a 7.5 kilo jump. This would put him in first place in the 83 juniors.
Stephanie Kirkpatrick, 142.5 kilos on platform.
And Stephanie's on platform 1.
1.
This is her 3rd attempt at
Bars
142.5
I
kilos.
believe they may have a little bit of blood on the bar on platform 2, so they're going to clean that up
Clean that up.
for safety.
It would be likely a shin.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Sometimes a hand, depending on
Sure, on a
if
blister
the
or
callus
something.
broke. Yeah.
Sure. All right, Stephanie's on platform 1. Last attempt of the day. It's moving. Can she lock it out? Looks
see.
like she did.
I think that should be good.
There
Yes.
we go. She got it 2-1. So the one judge on the side thought there might have been a little bit of a hitch or up and down.
Yes.
Yeah. But 2 judges, it's a good lift. Good day for her. They're cleaning up platform 2, so Logan has an equal opportunity to lift his final attempt. 290 kilos. On platform 1, we have Leah getting ready for her 3rd lift. They're cleaning up the bar now as they did on 2 on platform 1. They'll do that before every final attempt. And here comes Logan.
Come
And this is
on,
for
Logan.
first place in the 83 Open with a 730 total projected with this lift. And 101 GL
Over
points.
3.5 times
Over
his
that
body
100
weight, folks. He takes it out of the divot. He's a sumo puller. Over 3.5 times his body weight. Logan Heffron, 290 kilos. Give him a
I
big
think
round of
it tore a
applause.
hand. In Logan's case, I think he tore a blister potentially.
No lift
In
on
Leah's case, she
platform.
just couldn't finish the
Couldn't
lockout.
finish
She,
the lockout, yeah.
yeah. She got it to a certain point on her thigh and she
One.
just couldn't finish the lockout.
Leah.
All right, we move on. Claude is on platform 2 with a final attempt at 297.5. Melody's 3rd attempt will be at 152.5 kilos. 2nd place is in play for Melody in the 84 plus category, and 5th place for Claude in the 83 open category. And Claude's jump is a 15 kilo jump, so he is making a big jump here. I'm assuming that's to get into the top 5?
I would guess so.
I would
yeah.
think so. We have Melody ready on platform 1.
Stuck out to me.
Yep. Just that last one's just not there today.
Claude's deadlift has looked really good so far.
Claude Alexandre Guimond. The bar is Jose. Come on, Claude.
Claude's first 2 moved pretty comfortably.
Claude.
His first 2 went up nicely. We'll see what happens here. All right.
That looked good as well.
Un, deux,
Yeah.
trois, blanche, succinctement, très bien, merci beaucoup, Claude.
And Gino's practicing his French. Yep. Good lift for
Here
Claude.
comes Lucas.
Puts him into 5th place.
297.5
On
kilos
platform
for Lucas.
1, we have
After
Elizabeth
Lucas comes
with her
Matthew.
final attempt at 157.5, putting her in 4th place in the 76 kilo category, just over 400 kilos for her total. Nice total. Again, a little.
Let's see. Oh,
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
Come on, Lucas.
Lucas is also attempting 297.5 kilos.
Just keep him second.
Keep him in 2nd place. with a 725 total projected with this lift.
He goes from silver to gold. Silver to gold.
This is for the gold position, yes, because Logan missed his.
Correct. All right.
I think he's going to get a hitch if he do get it.
Couldn't quite do the lockout. Couldn't quite get the lockout. And as you pointed out, there was a bit of a hitch.
The knees.
What did he do?
His arm, I think, is cramped up.
Oh, something cramped.
He's bloodied up. Give him a round of applause.
All right, we have Kaylee on platform 1. Her third attempt at 160. But, yep, a good,
Really
good
good.
final attempt for her.
Cramped up. He can't undo his fingers, and he's bleeding. That guy put everything he had into that pole.
We have Eleanor on platform 1,
All right,
attempting
Matthew
160
LaRoche
for her
will
last
move
attempt.
Into the
And
bronze
Matthew,
medal position.
his third
If he
attempt in
pulls
the
up
83
310
junior
kilos,
class will be a
he's up on the
310
podium with a bronze
kilo
medal.
attempt, which is a 25 kilo
Matthew
jump.
And Gino announces puts him in the third place.
25 kilo jump.
Off the bar first.
This is what you see on the second, third deadlifts. You see these people jockeying for position and making what may be a reach, it may be something within his grasp.
Yeah, and he may have came here with the intention of finishing third, and he's going to take a crack at it.
Take a stab at it, absolutely. Eleanor's on platform 1. She's ready to go. Straighten out, shoulders back.
Look really good.
That was nice and smooth, and 3 whites for her. All 3 of her deadlifts looked very similar. All right. We have Deontay next on platform 1 with her final attempt. So we are on third attempts for the female junior lifters on platform 1. We are finishing up third attempts on platform 2 for the male juniors. They're cleaning up the bar, they're cleaning up the platform on platform 2. And Matthew, in a moment here, will be attempting 310 kilos in order to move to third place. And it's about 16 pounds shy
The
of
bar
700
is
pounds.
loaded. Give me a round of applause for Matthew LaRoche.
One of the other lifters from Quebec. Here we go.
2 very good, strong lifts. Let's see.
Yep. In Matthew's case,
He may
get
lock
his
that
shoulders
out.
back. I think Deontay on platform 1, I think, is definitely through. And we have 3 whites on both.
Nice pull.
Nice final pull.
He gets up on the podium with the bronze medal now.
Final pull to get into third place.
That was a big risk, and risk versus reward.
Yep. Deontay with a big pull on her third attempt. She was already in first place. That solidified first place for her. And now we have Isabella on platform 1 attempting her third at 192.5 kilos in the 76 kilo weight class.
She missed this on her second. Let's see if she can come back and get it on her third.
Yeah. This would give her a 422.5 total. She couldn't quite lock it out last time. We'll see how this goes.
It's not for lack of trying or effort.
No, she didn't want to give up on that one. But unfortunately, she got it just past the knees, and then there just wasn't anything left. Ariana's up next on platform 1. She's attempting a 200 kilo third attempt, 440 pounds. And this is a 10 kilo jump for a 76 kilo lifter. Puts her at 455 if she makes the lift, and would put her in second place.
Bar's ready for Ariana.
All right. Doesn't waste any time, gets right to it. Can she lock it out?
Looks good.
It looks good.
Let's see what the referees say.
She finished the lockout. Good
go.
lift for Ariana.
Is good for Ariana.
And now we have Laura, who has had one heck of a meet, attempting her third at 212.5
Here we
kilos.
go, Laura.
Keeps her in first place.
469 pounds.
Gives her a 496 total.
Yeah, 96 points as well.
That's
All
great,
really good numbers.
Great numbers for a 76 junior. So we'll see how Laura does on platform 1.
Boys ready for Laura.
And we are ready. She's fired up.
A little too much today,
Yeah.
but a great day.
Great day for her.
National record
She
in the
took
bench.
and took a stab at a big increase on the deadlift, and she finishes in first place in her weight class.